You honestly just wanted to be a regular college student, but your god tier looks simply wouldn't allow it. On your very first day of school, you caused cafeteria trays to be dropped 9 times and senior girls to walk the wrong way 3 times. Your roommates even formed a Chingming protection society. They vowed to guard you with their very lives. Check this out during freshman orientation. The director's hand accidentally slips and broadcasts your side profile onto the giant screen. In just 3 seconds, it triggered a collective scream from 30,000 people in the crowd. Even the campus beauty was completely speechless. Shocked. You wanted to study computer science in peace, but your roommate literally called your face an atomic bomb dropped right into the girls' dorms. On registration day, you just wanted to keep a low profile and remain completely invisible. But the moment you stepped through the campus gates, an enthusiastic senior girl came to greet you with a beaming smile. The instant you looked up, she froze on the spot, as if hit by a paralyzing spell. Having that illegally handsome face right under your cap made her swallow the rest of her words instantly. Right after that, her cheeks flushed red. Bright red. Frantically fumbling through the freshman roster, her voice pitched up several octaves as she stared at you and stuttered out a question, "What is your name?" Your expression remained totally indifferent, and you calmly uttered just one name, Chingming. Hearing that, the girl in front of you gave a violent shudder. She circled the paper heavily 3 times before finding the right spot. Her lips moved slightly as she muttered Chingming, male, 18 years old. Suddenly, she snapped her head up like she had been electrocuted, her eyes locking onto you in absolute shock. A guy with this kind of top-tier face is actually only 18? You frowned slightly, then casually pulled the brim of your baseball cap down lower. But the tree-lined path behind you had already exploded into chaos, with girls screaming about the incredibly hot guy in the gray hoodie. They wondered if your face was even real. You quickly sped up as the phone in your pocket started buzzing. On the screen, it clearly showed a text from the old man at home, and the content was incredibly strict, displaying just 2 simple words. Keep low profile. Your face remained totally emotionless as you casually slipped the phone back into your pocket. Muttering under your breath, "I have been trying to keep a low profile all along." But this face of yours was dead set on fighting that goal to the bitter end. The tree-lined path that should have taken 15 minutes ended up taking nearly half an hour because the completely distracted senior girl led you in circles. Every single time she sneaked a peek at you, her brain would instantly short-circuit. This caused her to take the wrong turn several times before finally making it to the south dormitory, where her tense body suddenly relaxed. She fidgeted, biting her lip, and finally, with a blushing face, handed over a sticky note with some numbers, calling you a freshman. She told you this was the number for the freshman group chat, and you took the note, giving her a polite, slight nod. You offered a brief thanks, and getting a response, her heart practically stopped right then. She stared blankly at your tall, slender back, then suddenly squatted on the ground, letting out a heavily muffled, groundhog-like squeal that scared a random passerby into jumping. She just covered her burning cheeks, muttering happily to herself that she was totally doomed. She had completely fallen in love with an absolutely otherworldly god. You dragged your black suitcase up the stairs and pushed open the door to room 304, where a chubby guy was aggressively slurping a massive bowl of noodles. Up on the top bunk, a sporty guy was busy doing stretches. Just imagine their reaction the moment they saw you. Both froze mid-action, and his greeting got completely stuck in his throat. His noodles plopped right onto his lap, splashing scalding soup all over him. The sporty guy on the top bunk was even worse, hurriedly poking his head out to get a better look, only to smack his head with a loud thud against the metal railing. The small dorm room instantly fell silent, dead silent. After a long moment, the chubby guy finally jumped up, baring his teeth in pain, and hollered at the top of his lungs. He asked if you were some kind of immortal deity descended straight from the heavens. You just stood at the door, completely calm, while he bulged his round eyes and looked you up and down, swallowing hard with a trembling voice. He insisted that you walked into the wrong dorm building, since this place definitely was not the Beijing Film Academy or Central Drama's art building. You lowered your eyes, glanced at the admission notice in your hand. You confirmed you hadn't made a mistake. Room 304 was definitely the place. When they asked what your major was, you replied calmly, "Computer science and technology." You were a future tech guy. The 2 guys looked at each other in sheer disbelief. Their voices suddenly shoot up by like 20 decibels. Seriously, with a world-shattering face like yours, you're here studying bald-inducing programming? You just slide your luggage under the desk and look back at them coolly. Does a person's look have anything to do with their major? Obviously not. But Dujitong scratches his head hard, looking like he is dying of pure regret. This is literally like taking a top-tier male celebrity and making him drive an excavator. It is a total waste of natural resources. The sporty guy next to him curls his lip and retorts that this is clearly like making a supermodel act as a mud flap for a tractor, calling it completely absurd. Ignoring their crazy comparisons, you just keep unpacking your bags and making your bed on your own. But those two seem to share an unspoken agreement, grinning as they crowd around you. Du Tong happily pats his round belly and introduces himself first. He introduces himself as Du Tong. If you ever run into trouble here, just drop his name. The athlete smoothly slides down from the guardrail, extending a hand cheerfully. He says he's Wang Che, a sports recruit. Wang Che comments that you look pretty tall, asking exactly how tall you are. Without even looking up, you casually toss out 186 centimeters. 186. Wang Che's eyes instantly light up like daylight as he presses you further. He asks if you like shooting hoops, and you give a slow hum, saying you just play occasionally. He replies, that is no problem. Wang Che promises to train you. Right then, Du Tong sneaks up to you looking pretty shifty, lowering his voice mysteriously. He warns you that their computer science department is a total sausage fest, with a tragic gender ratio of 7-1. That is 7 single guys fighting over one little flower. Du Tong dramatically holds up 7 fingers with a totally heartbroken expression. He says, if you really want a girlfriend, you both have to camp out at the art college every day, because the ratio there is completely flipped. It is a total gold mine. But mid-sentence, he suddenly stops, staring straight at your face. Du Tong's round cheeks tighten in sudden alarm. He asks if walking into the cafeteria with that face would be like dropping a nuke straight into a tiny fish pond. You finish neatly smoothing out your clean sheets, straighten your back, and give a flat response. You tell him you really just want to study here in peace, but as those words leave your mouth, you can already tell Du Tong is getting a massive premonition looking at your unfazed face. This new roommate's college life is definitely not going to be simple. While they are talking, the 4th roommate pushes the door open and walks right in. This new guy named Ran Fang is carrying a very expensive, custom-made suitcase. Even though you only want to be an average student, your breathtakingly handsome face clearly has a mind of its own. The Patek Philippe watch on his wrist reflects a cold, harsh light, but Ran Fang is not shocked. Instead, he sizes you up like he's appraising a fine piece of art, then reaches out a hand to introduce himself as Ran Fang from the capital. Du Tong immediately shakes his hand with tons of enthusiasm. Ran Fang, however, stares at the red string with a pitch-black bead hanging from your cuff. His pupils shrink at that top-tier, ink jade texture. He has only ever seen that kind of jade in the hands of the absolute elite back in the capital. You just give a slight, expressionless nod, lowering your eyes as you say your name, Chingming. Ran Fang repeats it in his mind, committing it to memory before offering a friendly smile, saying he is looking forward to learning from you all. At dusk, the 4 roommates head straight for cafeteria number 2. Du Tong insists on taking everyone to accidentally bump into the legendary campus beauty. You just tag along, and Ran Fang follows with a pleasant smile. The massive cafeteria is completely packed, absolutely buzzing with the chatter of girls everywhere. Holding your trays, you struggle to find any empty seats. You pull your cap down tighter, but that is exactly when disaster strikes. A girl happens to brush right past you. You quickly step aside to avoid her, but your cap gets snagged and pulled clean off. And boom, your face is fully exposed under the bright lights. As the girl looks back, your eyes meet. The food tray in her hands crashes to the floor, spilling braised pork absolutely everywhere. The entire cafeteria instantly falls dead silent. Every single gaze sticks to you like a magnet as the whole room locks onto your sharp features. It is literally as if someone hit the pause button on the entire room. Feeling the immense pressure, Du Tong stealthily inches away, whispering to Wang Che that they are completely screwed now because the nuke just went off. 3 seconds later, the cafeteria explodes into absolute chaos. Someone screams, and in the blink of an eye, all the girls whip out their phones. A dense sea of camera lenses points straight at you with flashes going off like crazy. You frowned deeply and pulled your cap back on, but it was already too late to stop the frenzy. Later, whenever Du Jiating talked about that scene, he gets so excited that spit would fly everywhere. Every girl within 30 meters went totally crazy. Some smashed bowls. Others choked on their soup. One girl even slammed headfirst into a pillar, but her eyes were still glued to Chingming. But Chingming, he just calmly adjusted his cap and kept eating, looking completely over the world the entire time. You were seriously annoyed to your absolute limit, pulling your brim down low. But those burning stares didn't lessen at all. Honestly, they only got more intense. Is this guy really from the engineering department? Looks like that are basically a cheat code. Du Jiating stared at you with a highly complicated expression. Seriously, bro. From now on, you either wear a mask outside or you eat in peace right now because next time it'll be impossible. You thought this was a minor incident. But wait, it gets so much worse. Not long after getting back to the dorm, Du Jieding found a viral post on the school forum with a shocking title. They claimed an immortal descended at Cafeteria 2, and replies already broke 400. Clicking into the post, Du Jieding nearly fell off his bed. The attached photos were 9 candid shots that made the entire forum boil over. The top comment below was basically a massive, campus-wide wail. "Oh my god, can someone please identify this god? I've been at Jiangyu for 3 years and have never seen this level of handsome." My best friend was there, saying her legs literally gave out as she collapsed right on the floor. Just looking at these photos makes my scalp tingle. Even the upperclassman from earlier commented that she was totally heartbroken. Du Jieding finished reading all the comments and slowly turned his head to look at you with a complex expression. At that moment, you were wearing noise-canceling headphones, buried deep in algorithms, looking like an academic weapon, when he helplessly shoved his phone screen right under your nose. "Bro, are you sure you don't want to take a look?" You casually glanced at the screen, face totally deadpan. You just coldly dropped one line, stating that you didn't put your cap on right earlier. After that, you dove right back into coding, leaving Du Jieding and Wang standing there completely dumbfounded. Only Ran Fang, sitting off to the side, slowly put his phone face down with a smirk appearing on his lips. He admired your calm indifference even more, as if this kind of massive attention was something you were long used to. But how could a seemingly poor student straight out of the mountains ever cultivate this steady aura, remaining as steady as Mount Tai even if it collapsed right in front of him? Ran Fang rolled over and closed his eyes. With only 3 words left in his mind, "How very interesting." Early the next morning, that forum post completely blew up. 3,000 replies. The Cafeteria 2 god is actually a freshman in the computer science department. Some fan actually camped outside his dorm for an hour, talk about extreme dedication. "Girls, check out this fan art I drew of him." But at this exact moment, the center of all this gossip was jogging alone downstairs. At 6:30 in the morning, wearing a cap and mask, you ran 10 kilometers without even breaking a sweat. Just then, a black Maybach silently pulled up to the school gates, and the windows slowly rolled down just a crack. A pair of deep, calm eyes locked firmly onto your figure, filled with a sense of profound relief. The man in the passenger seat lowered his voice, asking if he should go greet the young master, but the owner of those eyes stayed silent. A few seconds later, the window quietly rolled back up, and the Maybach drove away from the gates like a ghost. You happened to straighten up and glance toward the gates, your gaze lingering briefly on the departing car. Then you pulled down your mask to wipe your sweat, an imperceptible smirk slowly tugging at the corner of your mouth. Tomorrow was the freshman opening ceremony in a massive auditorium with 30,000 people. A strangely bad premonition suddenly rose in your chest, especially since this ceremony was easily the grandest event in September. The stadium was packed to the brim with 30,000 people, and 8 cameras were set up and ready. With no empty seats in the house, Du Jieding was shaking with nerves, whispering fiercely that you absolutely must not remove your cap today. You just leaned back lazily in your chair, the brim pulled down tight. You had zero intention of taking anything off, making Du Jieding let out a massive sigh of relief. Yesterday's forum post is about to hit 5,000 replies, so you calmly told him to please stop causing any more drama. Wang Shai snickered. "It is not like you are some wanted fugitive, man. Honestly, hiding you is way harder than that. Relax," he adds. "Who is going to notice us way out in this corner?" He was right. The computer science department was stuck in the furthest back corner, completely out of sight from the podium. On paper, it was totally safe, but as the school officials droned on with their endless speeches, everyone started falling asleep. Du Shitang kept yawning while Wang Shai impatiently bounced his leg. You just closed your eyes, drifting off to sleep. But that peaceful silence shattered the exact second the outstanding student representative stepped up to the stage. "Please welcome our outstanding student representative, Xiao Yuqing." The announcer's voice boomed through the entire stadium speakers. Suddenly, massive cheers and wild whistling nearly blew the roof off. Du Shitang practically bolted upright, screaming with pure excitement. She was the ultimate campus beauty, a top-tier influencer with millions of dedicated followers online. Wang Shai's eyes lit up. "Rumor has it she looks way better in person than online. We finally get to see." Up on stage, a girl in a flowing white dress walked up with perfect grace, instantly taking over the giant screen. Her face was unbelievably stunning and elegant. When Xiao Yuqing started speaking, her voice sounded incredibly soft and sweet. Every single guy in the crowd was staring, completely hypnotized. Yet, her eyes slowly scanned the crowd, searching for someone. Having seen yesterday's viral post, she wanted to see the hype for herself, that legendary new freshman with god-tier looks. Unfortunately, even after scanning almost the entire stadium, she could not spot her target. There were just too many faces around. With no other option, she pulled her gaze back to focus on her speech. But right then, a sudden glitch hit the camera booth. Camera 8 suddenly went rogue, the lens slowly panning across the massive crowd. Suddenly, the frame locked onto the back rows of the computer science section. It stopped right on a handsome guy in a gray cap, peacefully resting his eyes. Yep, that is you on screen. And watch this, the cameraman instinctively zooms in closer right under your cap. Your face was displayed in sharp high definition, showing off a sharp jawline and a high, straight nose. Those slightly parted lips completed the perfect look. The cameraman froze. He had filmed endless celebrities, but never a face this striking. Almost like he lost total control of his hands, he smashed the button to switch the live feed directly to you. In the booth, the director was just about to cut back to the podium, but once he saw your face, his hand froze in midair. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds passed on the giant screen. Xiao Yuqing's gorgeous face suddenly vanished, replaced by a massive close-up of you napping in the back. Your face completely dominated the massive screen. For a split second, the entire stadium fell into a dead, eerie silence. Then, 30,000 people erupted at the exact same time into a tsunami of screams. The sheer noise was deafening. Nearby, Du Shitang's jaw literally dropped wide enough to fit an entire egg. He stared blankly at the screen, all color draining from his face. "We are dead," he stammers. "It is completely over for us." Turning frantically to you, he watches as the sudden blast of noise wakes you up, leaving you frowning in confusion. "What is going on?" Du Shitang yells. Practically crying, "Whatever you do, do not look up." He frantically shoves your head down, screaming in absolute terror, "Do not look at that screen." Talk about a total disaster. Right at that moment, the screen broadcasts your clueless face to everyone. You look up anyway, and there you are in giant high definition. Even crazier, the camera caught the exact split second your eyes blinked open. Your brows furrow slightly, long eyelashes flutter, and those deep amber eyes quietly open for everyone to see. At that exact second, the screaming stadium peaked before suddenly dropping back into a bizarre, breathless silence. Even our campus beauty, Xiao Yuqing, completely stopped her speech up on the stage. Following the crowd's gaze toward your section, she stands completely frozen. With 30,000 people dead silent, you can even hear the faint hum of the air conditioning. The director finally snaps out of his trance and frantically cuts the camera feed, but the damage is already done. Instantly, all order inside the stadium completely collapses. Girls are screaming, "Did you guys just see him open his eyes? Who is that guy? Where is he sitting?" The computer science section in the back. "Let's go!" Girls charge. Hundreds of students jump from their seats, swarming like a wild wave right toward your corner. Du Shitang leaps up, spreading his arms wide to shield you from the mob, but absolutely nobody cares. The entire place descends into total madness, and you, the absolute center of this wild storm, just quietly pull your gray cap down even lower. You pull your mask up tighter, slide out your phone with a blank face, and text the old man. "Do not ever drag me to these boring events again." 3 seconds later, his reply dings, "What kind of trouble are you causing now?" Honestly, you do not even have time to reply, because the situation is already spiraling completely out of control. Your roommate, Duotang, is currently locked in hand-to-hand combat with screaming girls while Wang frantically pulls the back of his collar. Meanwhile, Ranfong stays totally calm, blocking the camera lenses aimed at you. Within seconds, the student council swarms the area, quickly establishing a tight security perimeter around you. But Student Council Vice President Zhao Liqing, that legendary goddess of a senior, completely ignores the riot and walks straight to you. And get this, the second she reaches the barrier, she freezes as if her heart skipped a beat. It is because you are just leaning lazily in your chair, hat and mask, hiding everything except a pair of totally nonchalant eyes. Suddenly, it hits her. Those viral photos did not capture even a 10,000th of your actual charm. Quickly regaining her composure, she walks right up and offers her hand. "Hello. Do you need me to arrange a private escort out?" You give her a brief glance, your voice sounding crystal clear under the mask. "No need. Thanks, senior." Just like that. Zhao Liqing's polite smile is still on her face, but the tips of her ears instantly flush bright red. She nods in a hurry, spinning around to make a quick exit while a nearby council member whispers, "Zhao Liqing, why are your ears so red?" Zhao Liqing instantly snaps at them to shut up, but this is honestly just the beginning of the chaos. For the entire second half of the ceremony, in a stadium of 30,000 people, absolutely nobody hears the principal. Every single eye in the crowd is locked onto you. The second things wrap up, your 3 roommates transform into bodyguards. One clears the path, one guards your back, and the last one blocks the cameras. They basically drag you through the back exit and rush you all the way to the dorms. As soon as the door clicks shut, Duotang collapses against it with a serious face, announcing that Dorm 304 is officially forming the Chingming Protection Association. You pull off your mask, massaging your aching temples and finding this whole spectacle completely ridiculous, guys. Are you not overreacting just a bit? The second those words leave your mouth, Duotang's eyes pop wide open, overreacting. Chingming, do you have any clue? There was nearly a full-blown stampede out there today, and it is entirely because of your face. He gets increasingly worked up. You can't even blame the cameraman, because if it were me, I would have zoomed in on you too. You just ignore him. And you won't believe this when you check your phone. The campus forum has completely exploded with the top thread. Who exactly is this god-tier handsome guy with 12,000 replies? The second trend I have the high-definition uncensored video. Get it, sisters. 8,600 replies. Trend 3. To that cameraman, this is definitely the peak of your career, drawing 6,000 replies. You clear the screen with a blank look, but then your phone vibrates again. It is a message from a contact named Old Man, sharing that exact high-definition close-up video. Right below it, he added some text. This clip is literally all over your third uncle's social feed. Your grandmother saw it and claims you look exactly like your father did at your age. You stare at the screen, your eyes freezing there. Your finger hovers above the glass for a long moment before you send back a short, detached two-word reply, got it. Then you set it down. You walk over to open an algorithm's textbook, staring at the old photograph of your parents tucked gently inside. Right now, all the massive hype from the outside world has absolutely nothing to do with you. But even if you try to ignore it, the internet is already losing its mind. Overnight, the heat from that big screen appearance did not fade at all. Instead, it exploded, completely taking over the online world. That brief close-up clip is spreading like wildfire, jumping from the school boards to mainstream social media. The hashtag for Jiangxing University's mysterious handsome guy hits 20 million views in 24 hours, with over 500,000 likes online. The comment sections are flooded with thousands of screaming fans, asking what kind of god-tier university this even is. Is it too late to transfer there? I've watched this clip 87 times, and my heart rate spikes to 120 every single time. Girls, is something wrong with me? The school forum is so packed with traffic that the servers are literally about to crash. In a school poll, 93% voted that you are so attractive you do not even look human. Naturally, your entire identity is soon leaked online. Meet the computer science freshman 6'1", completely cold and aloof. Even your chubby roommate Du Xiang somehow went viral, hitting the campus trending list after rejecting 47 girls in a row. Seeing those charts, Du Jiang, the dormitory door god, pretty much wants to cry. He says, "It is my first time making the Hall of Fame, and it is just as a bodyguard." But the reality check hits fast, stop crying, and get moving. We are late. With those words, Dorm 304 falls dead silent, and Dushang slaps his knee in absolute panic. Because during military training, you are not allowed to wear any masks or hats with the uniform. Everyone pictures that absolute nightmare and goes quiet, but you just sit up, looking completely unfazed by the whole thing. You tell them it is just military training, not like you are all marching to an actual execution. Du Jiang stares at your face, swallowing his words, but he is definitely thinking something else. Sure, it is not an execution ground, but your face in that uniform is definitely going to kill someone. Finally, the big day arrives. When you step into formation, it feels like time literally grinds to a halt. Somehow, that incredibly baggy, ugly green camo uniform fits your broad shoulders like high-end designer streetwear. It hugs your narrow waist perfectly, and without a mask to hide behind, your face is fully exposed to the sun. Your jawline looks like a literal sculpture, and those silver-rimmed glasses catch the morning light beautifully. You are just standing there, expressionless. Yet, the girls in Company 7 are totally losing their minds, barely brave enough to steal a second glance as their hearts beat out of their chests. 2 looks and they cannot breathe, 3 looks and they are probably passing out right on the field. But get this, things are about to get wild, because the girls next door have spotted you too. Sitting right next to Company 7 is the Art Academy, which basically has the highest beauty standards in the whole school. A sudden whisper ripples through, "Look over there." She is none other than the top beauty of the art major, the universally acknowledged campus goddess, Bai Chuchua. She is impatiently adjusting her cap, frowning at her loud friends, but they keep telling her to look at Company 7's god-tier guy. Bai Chuchua turns her head with a pretty bored look, casually scanning the crowd, only to freeze dead in the very next second. Right there in the third row of Company 7, that young man stands tall, the morning sun highlighting his flawless profile. Bai Chuchua's eyes widen in sheer shock for a second before she quickly looks away, trying hard to seem totally calm. Her best friend behind her, Lu Ruan, whispers with absolute excitement in her voice, "That is him, Chingming. He is literally 100 times hotter in person than in those viral videos. My legs are turning into jelly, but Bai Chuchua just scoffs, saying he is just a guy. Is it really worth making such a huge scene? Come on, tell me. Can you honestly call that face just a guy? She stops talking, merely straightening her back and staring. Yet, her hand tightly clenching the seam of her pants and her racing heartbeat completely give away her actual feelings. You see, her entire life, the guys chasing her could literally line up across the whole country, including campus idols and rich heirs. She has met countless handsome guys, yet not one has made her heart race. But just now, one single look at his profile from miles away completely threw her heart into total disarray. This makes her feel super annoyed, so she tells Lu Ruan to shut up and never mention him again. Lu Ruan shuts her mouth, but she cannot stop grinning, thinking that this cold campus iceberg is finally starting to melt. Right then, the training officially kicks off under their strict new commander, Instructor Wang. With his dark skin and intimidating face, Instructor Wang barks out an order that explodes across the field like a cannonball. He yells that for the next 15 days, he does not care who your parents are, you will behave. The students scream yes, and Instructor Wang nods in total satisfaction before starting to inspect his new troops. He slowly checks their postures one by one, but the moment he reaches the third row, he stops right in front of you. He has been in the army for 8 years, meaning he has seen every kind of guy out there. But looking at the guy standing in front of him, the tough instructor actually zones out for a second before quickly regaining his composure to demand your name. You reply Chingming, as Instructor Wang sizes you up and says something that completely shocks the entire crowd. Seriously, look at that posture. It isn't just polite praise, your form is perfect. Back straight, center of gravity perfectly stable. You don't look like a typical freshman. It's more like you've been through years of professional training. Just outside the training field, a huge crowd of senior girls is pretending to take a casual stroll. Seriously, even when the guys hit the restroom, some girls are willing to camp outside for 40 minutes. But the real target of all those intense stares is just a freshman standing at attention for half the day. Chingming just stands there, sweat slowly sliding down his collarbone. Weibo views instantly soar to 5 million. Meanwhile, Bushu, standing over in company 3, desperately tries to stop herself from looking his way. But when she accidentally glances his way for the 7th time, she locks eyes with Chingming. It lasts for less than a second. Bushu violently snaps her head back, her heart pounding so fast it feels like it's about to leap out of her chest. To cover up her obvious guilt, she quickly whispers to her best friend next to her Ruian, "Don't you think the sun is incredibly brutal today?" Lu Ruian looks completely confused. It's actually cloudy today, so what are you even talking about? Hearing this, Bushu falls completely silent. Her cheeks burn with embarrassment. Now, watch this. By the 3rd day of training, the cloudy sky vanishes, replaced by a scorching 95 degrees Fahrenheit. The heat rising from the ground literally warps the air, leaving 6,000 freshmen suffering under the blazing sun. Only Chingming stands firm, his expression completely calm and breathing steady. But Du Shang right behind him is about to pass out. With trembling lips, he whispers, "Chingming, save me. I can't take this. I feel like a well-done steak." Chingming doesn't even look his way, warning him in a sharp whisper. "Shut up, the instructor is watching." And just like that, the instructor's furious roar explodes from the front of the line. Du Xiang flinches in terror, instantly snapping his spine as straight as a steel rod. If anyone speaks another word, you are getting an extra hour. Terrified, Du Xiang immediately clamps his mouth shut. Yet, merely a second later, he leans toward Chingming's ear again, muttering his hilarious final will. "Chingming, if I die, you can have my instant noodles." Chingming's lip twitches, but he quickly regains his cool composure. Finally, after a brutal 3 hours of absolute torture, the training session ends. Chingming heads straight for the shade, twisting open a fresh bottle of cold water. Since it is incredibly hot, he casually unzips his heavy jacket, showing off the damp white shirt underneath. The clear outline of his chest and abs instantly leaves the girls from Company 3 completely speechless. "I think I just passed away. You can go ahead and bury me right here on this field," one girl squeals. Her friend immediately elbows her, hushedly warning her to keep it down so Bushu doesn't hear. Meanwhile, Bushu is leaning against a shady tree, splashing cold water over her wrists to cool her boiling temper. She acts incredibly aloof, pretending she does not care about any of this. But Lu Ruian just has to slide right next to her, gossiping with a mischievous grin. "Bushu, did you know that 17 girls have literally fainted from heat stroke while trying to sneak a peek at Chingming?" Bushu's gaze turns ice cold as she responds, "And why exactly should I care about that?" And some are saying, but Bushu scoffs, cutting her off right there without any mercy. "Lu Ruian, say his name one more time and I will throw away your entire lipstick collection." Naturally, that shuts her up instantly. But wait, a massive, loud commotion suddenly erupts right in the middle of the field. A crowd of students walks over from the direction of the sports stadium, marching in a rather dramatic procession. Leading the pack is a tall, handsome guy wearing expensive designer clothes, a smooth smile plastered on his face, followed by his loyal student council members. Some carry papers while others hold a parasol for him, looking ridiculously pompous. When Lu Ruyan recognizes the guy leading them, she gasps out loud, "It's actually Lu Jing." This guy isn't just the sophomore class president. He's also the wealthy second young master of Lu Real Estate. Before Chingming showed up, Lu Jing was the undisputed king of the campus, with a powerful family backing. Armed with perfect grades and his presidential status, he was always used to being the center of attention. To everyone on campus, he is the ultimate, flawless dream guy. But behind that fake, gentle smile hides a toxic streak of intense jealousy. He absolutely refuses to let anyone outshine him on this campus. It has always been like this. But today, pretending to inspect freshman military training, he heads straight for Bai Chushu with a very clear target. He has been planning this move for over 6 months, confident that victory is already in his grasp. Wearing his signature gentle smile, he walks up to the tree and hands her some iced mung bean soup, but check this out. Bai Chushu doesn't even blink, politely saying there is no need since everyone is equal during training. She refuses special treatment, her distant voice drawing a very clear line. Lu Jing's fake smile freezes for a second, but he quickly covers it up, acting totally fine. He maintains his polite gentleman act, tells her he will just leave it anyway, and then turns to walk away. But as he walks off, his eyes sweep over to the most crowded corner of the field, catching something unexpected. Isn't that Chingming looking down at his phone, the guy who stole his title as the absolute campus idol? Lu Jing glares at him for 3 whole seconds, his perfect smile staying locked in place without a single crack. But the student council members notice his knuckles turning pretty white from how incredibly hard he's squeezing his folder. "Let's go," he says, looking away with an incredibly calm voice. After taking just a few steps, Lu Jing suddenly whips his head back toward Bai Chushu's direction without warning. And that single look absolutely destroys him because Bai Chushu's eyes are still fixed on that same young man. The smile on Lu Jing's lips instantly freezes, and a freezing layer of frost quickly forms in his eyes. At noon, the school cafeteria is absolutely packed, noisy, and chaotic. Du Jitang escorts Chingming like some precious national treasure, guiding him to a secluded corner table. He warns him that he is the main focus here, and even the principal wouldn't cause a stampede like he would. While Du Jitang hypes things up with a deadpan look, Chingming just sighs, removing his mask to catch a quick breath. For about 2 minutes, things are actually pretty quiet. Suddenly, splash! A cold glass of orange juice falls right out of the sky, spilling perfectly onto his chest. A massive wet spot stains his jacket. Chingming looks up to find a girl holding an empty glass, looking totally panicked. She stammers out an apology, begging him to forgive her because she just tripped over a stray chair leg. Chingming looks down at his soaked white shirt, his eyebrows furrowing slightly as he cuts off her apology. He says it's fine, but the wet shirt is clinging tightly to his skin, turning almost completely see-through. Every single detail of his chest muscles, his abs, and the droplets trickling down his collarbone are on full display. And when the clumsy girl catches a glimpse of this, her hand goes totally limp, sending the glass shattering onto the floor. Her eyes stretch wide as her face flushes a deep, burning crimson, turning so red it looks like she is about to pop a blood vessel. Then, with a heavy thud, she faints right on the spot. The whole cafeteria erupts into total madness. People nearby start shouting for help, screaming that someone just passed out. Chingming just stands there holding his dripping jacket, looking totally blank. He realizes he needs to escape immediately, because at least 50 intense gazes are locking onto him. And that intense crowd is growing at an alarming rate. 5 minutes later, the unconscious girl is finally helped up by her worried friends. After they pinch her upper lip for a bit, she finally starts waking back up. The very first thing she mutters upon opening her eyes is to ask if he is still there, leaving her friends completely baffled. One of them teases her, pointing out she literally just blacked out and is already trying to get another look. But she is desperate, begging for just one final glance, which only makes the surrounding crowd laugh and tease her more. They quickly decide to carry her off to the clinic, and using this chaotic moment as cover, Chingming quietly slips away. Draping his wet jacket over his shoulder, he heads out the side door, wearing nothing but that wet white shirt. Yet, who could have guessed that right under the corridor leading to the quiet garden, Bai Chushu would actually be sitting there. She sits quietly on a stone bench, listening to music with her earbuds in while reading an English novel. The warm sunlight filters down through the leaves, casting beautiful, soft shadows that make her look like a peaceful oil painting. Chingming keeps his footsteps incredibly light, intending to just slip through the garden unnoticed and head straight back to his dorm. But getting just 3 meters away from her, he suddenly senses a presence. His footsteps freeze right in their tracks. Walking away feels way too suspicious, but marching right past might scare her. Hesitating for just a moment, he tries to tread softly and slip past unnoticed. But as his foot lifts, a tiny piece of gravel crunches under his shoe, a quiet but sudden sound, and Bachu reacts with absolute lightning speed. She whips her head around, and their eyes clash from barely 2 meters away. You can practically feel the tension as she freezes and looks down. His soaked white t-shirt is clinging tightly to his skin, showing off his toned muscles while a single orange water droplet on his collarbone shimmers under the hot sun. Bachu's mind goes entirely blank for 0.3 seconds, and then her face flushes a deep, burning red. Turning her back to Chingming, she spins around and asks with a tight voice what he is doing here. Chingming is totally clueless. He says he is just passing by, making Bachu shriek back, "Passing by dressed like that?" Chingming looks down at his wet shirt, and only then does he finally realize why she is so incredibly flustered. He explains someone spilled juice on him. Bachu keeps her back turned, but her bright red, blushing ears completely give away her embarrassment. Chingming feels the air getting incredibly awkward. He turns to walk away, but after taking barely 2 steps, Bachu suddenly calls out for him to wait a minute. Chingming halts right there, and Bachu finally turns around to face him. Her cold, distant mask is fully back, and the red blush has mostly faded, replaced by a complicated look as she slowly scans him up and down. She asks if he is that famous Chingming, and after his simple nod, she coldly demands to know if he hired people to spam the school forum. Chingming frowns, asking what she means, but she tells him to stop acting innocent. Bachu tilts her chin up, glaring at him. She brings up the freshman ceremony video, the military training, candid photos, and those perfectly clear shots of his face. Does he really expect her to believe all that is a mere coincidence? Chingming stays completely silent, simply staring back at her. His slight helplessness fades into a cold, indifferent look as he points out they are complete strangers to each other. Shifting his jacket to his other hand, he calmly notes that making accusations without any proof is not logical analysis. It is called pure prejudice. Bachu looks slightly shaken. Her mouth opens to argue, but she cannot find a single word because he is completely right. She has zero proof. Honestly, she was just highly irritated by that massive, endless flood of forum posts lately. More than that, she absolutely refuses to admit her heart skipped a beat just a few seconds earlier. As a proud queen, this is the very first time she has felt such intense pressure from a guy her own age. Telling him to believe whatever he wants, she snaps up her coffee and book from the bench and stomps off. But after taking only 2 steps, she abruptly stops and icily demands he put on some actual clothes because this is a college campus, not his personal fashion runway. Saying her piece, she stomps away so fast she looks like she is fleeing the scene in panic. Chingming stands there watching her flee, muttering helplessly about his ruined, juice-soaked shirt. What else was he even supposed to do? Their first ever conversation was certainly far from pleasant. Chingming stares in her direction for a long, quiet moment. Back at the dorm, his roommate Dooji is holding lunchboxes and pacing around, asking why his shirt is wet and who he needs to fight. Ready to settle the score, Dooji watches as Chingming changes into a clean black shirt, grabs his lunchbox, and responds calmly. He says it was an accident, but this quiet moment does not last long. Wang kicks their door wide open and screams that the powerful student union president, Lu Jing, is actively targeting Chingming. It turns out Lu Jing used to be the campus's ultimate, undisputed heartthrob, but now all his fame has been completely stolen by Chingming. To make things worse, Lu Jing has been desperately chasing Bachu for 6 months, and the entire school is whispering that the guy Bachu was secretly watching during drill was actually Chingming. With his massive ego, you just know he is not letting this slide. Pushing up his glasses, Ran Fang calmly warns that while Lu Jing won't openly bully a freshman, he has endless ways to play dirty behind the scenes, like giving you the absolute worst. This brutal, exhausting task was specifically designed to destroy him during evaluations. Du Shang gritted his teeth in anger. This was way too underhanded. All eyes immediately snapped to Chingming, but he just kept eating his food, completely unbothered. Only after swallowing his food did he slowly mutter a few words, "Let us finish eating first." He looked like a cheetah napping in the sun, lazy and relaxed on the surface, but ready to strike with lethal force at any second. And right here, Lu Jing makes his first move fast and completely ruthless. On day 4 of training, Instructor Sun suddenly receives a sudden notice. The letter stated that the 7th Company was now responsible for the crucial flag-bearer duties. During the military training showcase this weekend, they suggested the company nominate an outstanding student for this heavy responsibility. The notice did not name names, but the real target was already painfully obvious. "Chingming, you will be our flag-bearer." Instructor Sun held the notice, walking straight to the front of the 7th company to lock his eyes directly on Chingming. From the back row, Du Xiang raised his hand and yelled out, "Report." He wanted to volunteer to carry that heavy flag instead of Chingming. But Instructor Sun just glared at him coldly, an expressionless look, and asked if he could even lift it. Du Xiang patted his chest, guaranteeing he absolutely could. But the instructor shut him up instantly. "You cannot even march properly." With that, Du Xiang could only lower his hand in embarrassment. "Chingming, any objections?" Standing straight in the formation, Chingming remained silent for a moment. He instantly saw right through this fake honor and the danger hiding behind it. The flag bearer is always the ultimate center of attention. If he accepted, he would be walking straight into the trap Lu Jing had meticulously laid out for him. Refusing now meant being accused of totally abandoning their collective honor. But if he accepted, any tiny mistake before the entire school would be massive. Yet, Chingming looked as calm as water. He simply replied, "No objections." Instructor Sun nodded slightly in response. As he turned around, a sharp smirk crept onto his lips. This had absolutely nothing to do with the student union's recommendation. The instructor just wanted to see what kind of hidden cards this mysterious freshman was keeping up his sleeve. Gossip travels fast, and this news quickly spread like wildfire across the entire campus. That same night, a hot new thread popped up online. The news of Chingming carrying the flag caused an absolute sensation. The replies easily broke 1,000 in minutes. Girls excitedly swore they would skip class just to get front row seats to see him. Of course, some commenters leaked the truth, exposing that this was actually the student union's shady setup. Back in the dorm, Du Xiang stared at his phone and slammed his fist onto the desk. Lu Jing is definitely playing dirty behind the scenes. He just wants to see Chingming fail in front of thousands. Roommate Wang Shi was still pretty confused. How bad can carrying a flag be? Du Xiang grit his teeth and broke it down. Lu Jing tried to act nice with that bean soup today and got rejected instantly. He lost all his pride. Now he is taking out all his anger directly on Chingming. If Chingming's march is slightly off, or if the flag is crooked, Lu Jing will film it and post it online to ruin him forever. But Ran Fong shook his head, seeing a much deeper trap here. Simple embarrassment is only secondary. This is a test. If Chingming backs down, Lu Jing will label him a coward who only cares about saving face. He will have a dozen ways to crush him later. If Chingming fails to stand out, he loses all leverage. His words plunged the entire dorm into silence. They all turned their heads to look at Chingming. He was just leaning back, still quietly reading his book on algorithms. He calmly turned the page. Du Xiang scratched his head, asking how on earth he was not nervous. Finishing his page, Chingming slowly looked up, staring out the window into the pitch-black night. He expects me to fail, but that assumes I actually would. His tone was quiet, yet it carried a heavy pressure. What if I do not? The three roommates felt like they were staring at a sleeping lion opening its eyes. Du Xiang's heart pounded hard. He was completely certain that Chingming was no ordinary kid from the mountains. In a flash, training reached day 5. Along with the standard drills, Chingming officially began his intense solo flag bearer practice. Out on the corner of the field, he raised a massive 3-meter flag high. He marched with heavy, powerful steps under the blazing sun, keeping a 15-pound flag steady using just a single hand while stepping forward. With his other arm swinging in wide arcs, the core strength required for this was absolutely insane. Chingming held the pole rock steady, keeping a pace as precise as a clock while Instructor Sun watched close, his brows furrowing tighter. It was not because Chingming was failing, but because his skill was just too good, unnaturally good. I mean, how could a regular freshman even have this insane stamina and control? Even Chingming's posture holding the flag was not the standard stance taught at school, it was completely different. This was an elite-level grip, the kind you only see in highly specialized military units. Instructor Sun had only seen this grip in special ops units. He stared hard at Chingming before asking him a single, heavy question. "Which unit is your master from?" Chingming froze on the spot. He lowered the massive flag, wiped the sweat off his face, and gave a calm, casual reply. "Instructor, you are overthinking this." Sun just shot back with a sharp look. "Are you sure about that?" "Just following an old veteran around my village for a bit," Chingming said, his gaze open and steady. Instructor Sun did not push him on it, but he knew deep down that this village veteran was no ordinary man. The instructor turned to walk away, but stopped in his tracks as if suddenly remembering something important. "Do not sweat the upcoming military showcase. Just go through the motions and get it over with." Chingming nodded, but the instructor's voice suddenly turned dead serious. "But if anyone tries to mess with you on purpose," he paused, his eyes locking on the boy, "I will not let our unit lose face." His words were quiet, but they carried terrifying weight. Watching him, Chingming realized this harsh drill sergeant was fiercely protective of his guys. He thanked him, but Sun just snapped back, asking what for. Get back to training, the instructor barked, walking off as Chingming hoisted the flag once more. Meanwhile, on the far side of the campus, a shadow stood silently in the second-floor hallway of the main building. Watching through a glass window, he caught the entire training session. It was none other than Lu Jing. He tapped his fingers slowly against the freezing sill, his gaze turning incredibly dark and cold. That heavy flag remained totally unmoving in Chingming's solid grip, his forward march as smooth as flowing water without a single flaw. This was definitely not the easy script Lu Jing had planned out. He figured a tech nerd would just be a pretty face at best, but seeing Chingming like this gave him a deep, uneasy feeling. This guy was definitely not a soft target. Lu Jing pulled out his phone and made a direct call. Dig up some dirt on a guy named Chingming. He's a computer science freshman from Yunnan province. I need his full background, family history, and past records. Find out absolutely everything. With a quick grunt of agreement from the other side, Lu Jing hung up and stared back out. Right then, Chingming marched directly below him. Golden light from the setting sun washed over his face, the flag snapping loudly behind him. Looking at him, Lu Jing felt a cold wave of fear hit him, fueled by nothing but pure, bitter jealousy. This target was clearly no ordinary fish in a shallow pond. Lu Jing narrowed his eyes, his gaze freezing over. Since that was the case, he could not let him stay. By 11 p.m. in dorm 304, his roommates were snoring loud. Only Chingming remained awake on his bed, scanning through his heavy coding book using only the soft glow of his phone. Still up? Ran Fang whispered from the bunk across from him, keeping his voice down. Following a brief silence, he asked about the red string bracelet on Chingming's wrist, wondering about the bead. It is black jade. Chingming froze mid-page, asking if he had actually seen one of these before. Ran Fang's voice was completely calm as he mentioned that elite circles in the capital often wear those. Elders usually hand them down to the younger generation as protective amulets. Chingming remained completely silent. I am not trying to pry, Ran Fang murmured, turning over to face the wall instead. He just wanted Chingming to know he could always ask if he ever needed backup. Chingming stayed quiet. The room was dead quiet except for the hum of the air conditioner and their roommates snoring, until Chingming finally whispered a quick thank you and good night. Good night, Ran Fang replied, and dorm 304 went totally dark as moonlight flooded through the window. The whole campus is dead silent, like a painted picture. But beneath this quiet, a massive storm is already starting to brew. On the 7th day of military training, 6,000 freshmen gather for the ultimate marching showcase. The grandstands are completely packed, 3 layers deep, a total sea of people. A star-spotting guide on the school forum went totally viral, marking the absolute best spots to get a crystal-clear view of Chingming. This is pretty far from a regular military drill. It is a massive warm-up for the whole school's heartbeat. Staring at this, Du Jiadong is totally speechless. He gasps out, Ming, bro, that massive crowd is entirely here for you. Are you really not nervous? Chingming keeps buttoning his camo jacket without missing a beat, looking up with totally calm eyes. Does being nervous actually help? Du Jiadong is speechless. This guy was simply born without a single nervous bone in his body. No matter how massive the event, his face only ever shows that annoyingly calm look. Then, at 9 a.m., the showcase officially kicks off. School officials and military chiefs sit up straight with serious faces, while upperclassmen pack the stands, waiting for the real drama. The law school marchers come out first, doing everything strictly by the book. They get some polite, totally flat applause. Next up, the business school has a couple of decent moments, but they still fail to make any real splash. But the moment the third company from the art school steps onto the field, the crowd finally goes completely wild. Bai Chushu, rocking a high ponytail, marches confidently right in the second row. Somehow, she makes that basic camo uniform look incredibly heroic, fully proving why she is the school's top freshman beauty. Deafening cheers erupt that Bai Chushu is so gorgeous, and as they step off, Lu Ruan playfully winks at her. Lu Ruan whispers the 7th company is up, sure you don't want to watch, but Bai Chushu just says she is not interested. Yet the very next second, Bai Chushu casually shifts her footsteps, quietly sliding to a perfect view, and honestly, we all know exactly who she wants to see. Right then, the speakers announce the 7th company from computer science is up, and instantly, the entire grandstand absolutely explodes. Ear-shattering screams and wild cheers take over the field. Some people had been waiting over an hour just for this exact moment. As the 7th company marches out, every single eye in the stadium immediately locks onto the sole flag bearer at the very front, Chingming. He grips the massive flag with both hands, resting the heavy pole diagonally against his right shoulder. The giant flag snaps fiercely in the howling wind, leaving his handsome face completely uncovered for everyone to see. Sunlight hits Chingming's face. Wearing no hat, the wind blows stray hair across his forehead, and with his sleeves rolled up, those sharp, powerful muscles are on full display. Then, in an instant, the wildly cheering grandstands fall into a completely dead silence. This visual shock is way more intense than seeing him on a screen. A living, breathing guy, absolutely dripping with top-tier testosterone, is standing just a few yards away. He looks straight ahead with his chin slightly raised, carrying an untouchable, royal aura that literally makes the entire audience lose their minds right then. Every single step Chingming takes feels like he is stepping directly on the crowd's heartbeat. That heavy 15-pound flag looks as light as a feather in his hands, his arms not shaking even an inch. A strange, heavy silence covers the entire field, leaving only the sound of his perfect footsteps and the howling wind. Up on the rostrum, even the principal is staring so hard he forgets to drink his tea. You can really feel the tension. Standing nearby, his instructor is grinning like crazy, knowing this kid was hiding some serious, next-level skills all along. For exactly 40 steps, Chingming marches even more perfectly than a textbook. Standard guidelines are lifeless, but his steps are alive, carrying a powerful, suffocating beauty like a sword drawn from its sheath. After 40 steps, he suddenly stops. He plants the flagpole straight down. Next, he faces the rostrum and delivers a sharp, crisp salute with zero wasted movement, before lowering his hand and staring straight ahead. Silence. Then, 3 seconds later, thunderous applause erupts and everyone goes completely wild. The whole crowd jumps to their feet, screaming and filming, while one girl covers her mouth with tears streaming down her face. He is just way too handsome, not some pretty boy look, but the powerful kind of handsome that literally makes you want to cry. And the craziest part? The person handing her a tissue is crying tears of their own. Standing in the third row, Du Jiadong's lips tremble with pure excitement as he realizes he has never been cheered for like this in his life. Wang mercilessly roasted him that applause is not for you. Chingming just laughed, saying he knows, but he is standing right behind him anyway. He gets some of that applause too, and it is quite enough. The entire 7th company was smiling. They knew that today they were the most dazzling company on the field, all because their flag bearer was Chingming. Up on the rostrum, the commander directly asked the principal if this flag bearer had received professional training. Hearing this, the principal shook his head. He is just a computer science freshman with no prior military training. The commander did not say another word. On the scoring sheet, he gave the 7th company the highest score of the entire day. But as soon as the demonstration ended, Chingming stopped Instructor Sun because he had something very urgent to report. He pulled a small object out of his pocket and handed it over to Instructor Sunday. It was a polished, artificially smooth little pebble, the exact size to jam a shoe tread. Instructor Sun instantly frowned, asking what this meant. Chingming's tone was terrifyingly calm. Before going out, he found 7 of those pebbles in the waiting area spaced 30 centimeters apart, perfectly covering his first 5 steps. Instructor Sun's expression drastically changed, asking if he meant someone scattered them on purpose. Chingming's eyes were ice-cold. Polished pebbles do not just naturally appear on a synthetic track. Instructor Sun's face completely darkened. The first 5 steps of a flag bearer are crucial. If he stepped on a pebble and slipped, the consequences would be unimaginable. Carrying a 15-pound flag and wiping out in front of the whole school, he could not even bear to picture it. Instructor Sun stared intently at Chingming. Yet, Chingming replied as casually as if talking about someone else. He stepped on one, but it did not affect him. Instructor Sun was reeling. He stepped on a pebble and still kept his pace perfectly steady. Just what kind of monster is this kid? Chingming did not know for sure, but said very few had access in those 10 minutes. Instructor Sun instantly understood. Clenching the pebble tightly, his eyes turned cold as he promised to handle this and told Chingming to keep quiet. With that, he turned and walked away briskly, radiating pure anger. Chingming watched him leave, narrowing his eyes slightly. Lu Jing wanted to make a fool out of him, but Chingming did not give him that satisfaction. You know this is not over yet. We will just have to wait and see. But the news still spread. Instructor Sun checked the security footage and found a student union officer had entered the waiting area 5 minutes before Chingming's turn. He immediately handed the screenshots to the command center, whose stance on this was crystal clear. Investigate strictly, but unfortunately, Lu Jing had covered his tracks perfectly. The officer insisted to the bitter end he was only inspecting the venue and the pebbles fell from a hole in his pocket. With no direct evidence, the incident was ruled an accident. Back in dorm 304, Duang was practically exploding with rage. This is bullying, plain and simple. Lu Jing obviously did this on purpose. Without enough evidence, they had to wait. Ran Fang, however, remained unusually calm, saying their time would come soon. When asked what he meant, Ranfang glanced at Chingming typing code, noting that Lu Jing was very cautious. Going head-to-head right now is useless. To deal with him, they had to wait for something. Wait for him to make a mistake, Ranfang smiled, saying that the enemy's desperate move proved he was getting anxious. An impatient man will make a huge mistake sooner or later, though Wang Che was still completely lost. He turned directly to Chingming, asking what he was actually thinking as the programmer paused his typing. The green screen glow reflected in Chingming's eyes. If Lu Jing wants to play, fine, but crossing the line means war. His flat tone sent chills down their spines. He would make sure Lu Jing learned who not to mess with. That very night, a mysterious anonymous post absolutely blew up on the school forum. The title was incredibly simple and brutal: the pebbles in the flag bearer's waiting area, coincidence or intentional sabotage. The post did not name names, only showing photos of the pebbles, but the comment section instantly exploded. Clearly, someone was out to get Chingming since only staff could access that area. Pretty terrifying when you think about it, but right as someone dropped Lu Jing's name, the comment was deleted. Soon, comments across the entire thread started getting frantically scrubbed. Some blamed the student union, while others guessed the admins were controlling the narrative. Whoever was behind it, this single incident completely stirred up a massive storm across the whole school. Nobody talked about it openly, but the scales in everyone's minds were already shifting. Lu Jing's once perfect image had just suffered its very first crack. And once a crack like that shows up, it never fades, it only gets wider. The next day, military training went on as usual, but the entire vibe was different. As Chingming stepped onto the field, the looks he got shifted from simple crushes to something much deeper: respect. That epic demonstration proved he was way more than a pretty face. His composure, raw strength, and godlike aura were clearly carved right into his very bones. Even Instructor Sun's attitude pulled a total 180. His brutal demands quickly turned into a seasoned veteran's respect for a highly capable rookie. A simple bottle of water handed over during breaks. A few subtle pointers, a nod in formation. They were all silent signs of deep approval. At lunchtime, Du Hang dragged the guys to the cafeteria again, but this time, Chingming wasn't wearing a hat, leaving Du Jitong completely shocked. "Are you really going bareheaded?" they asked, but Chingming scoffed. "Does it even work?" Turns out, it really did not. Even if nobody was screaming or passing out anymore, dozens of eyes still locked onto him, tracking his every single move like searchlights. Du Hang joked that once people see him enough, they will finally get used to it. But Chingming just gave him a deadpan look. Du Hang's hand immediately shook, dropping a piece of braised pork right onto the table. Well, maybe not totally immune. Right then, Bok Chu-shu and Lu Ruyan walked right into the busy cafeteria. Lu Ruyan immediately spotted an empty table right next to them. She grabbed Bok Chu-shu and pulled her. Bok Chu-shu hesitated, begging to sit elsewhere, but Lu Ruyan snapped that everything else was full. "Hurry up before someone else snatches it," Lu Ruyan urged, practically dragging her. Bok Chu-shu took a deep breath while holding her food tray. Her face was totally calm, her steps steady, and her back completely straight. Everything was absolutely flawless until she reached the table next to Chingming and met his eyes as he looked up. With just a single second of eye contact, Bok Chu-shu pulled out a chair and sat down calmly, but the hand holding her chopsticks was shaking. Lu Ruyan hid a smirk and whispered, "Nervous?" Bok Chu-shu snapped back coldly, "Just eat your food." Talk about an awkward lunch date. The atmosphere was completely silent as Chingming kept eating, but he noticed a tiny detail. When Bok Chu-shu tried to pick up her food, it literally took her 3 tries just to grab a piece of tofu. Chingming smirked ever so slightly. Suddenly, a voice called out from the entrance. Bok Chu-shu instantly snapped her head up. Lu Jing, holding a food tray and flanked by 2 student union officers, walked over grinning. But the moment he saw Chingming sitting right next to Bok Chu-shu, he paused mid-step and his fake smile stiffened. Lu Jing actually sat right down next to Bok Chu-shu, directly facing Chingming. The tension between their tables instantly skyrocketed as Lu Jing slowly ate, speaking in an incredibly smug and condescending tone. Yesterday's demonstration was quite a shock, especially the flag bearer. It was pretty impressive. He sounded exactly like a boss evaluating a low-level worker. Du Hang gripped his chopsticks in pure rage, but Chingming didn't even look up. He just kept eating as if the guy didn't even exist. Getting absolutely no response, Lu Jing's smile completely froze. Quickly shifting gears, he turned to Bok Chu-shu, inviting her to next week's meeting. "You should come by and get familiar with things." But Bok Chu-shu rejected him flat out, saying, "No need, thank you, senior." Lu Jing's fake smile completely shattered as the air in the room dropped to absolute freezing, right when Chingming finished his meal and stood up. As he walked past Lu Jing, he only gave him a completely flat glance. It was the look you give a random stranger on the street. No anger, no fear. Just a lion walking past an ant, completely ignoring it. Under the table, Lu Jing's fists clenched so hard his nails dug deep into his palms. The hand holding his chopsticks was shaking uncontrollably. Bok Chu-shu stood up coldly. "Senior Lu, you do not need to go out of your way to find me anymore." She walked out of the cafeteria into the warm sunlight. The tip of her nose could still catch that clean, comforting scent from when Chingming had just walked past her. Bok Chu-shu clenched her fists, desperately trying to snap out of it. Who would have thought that even when afternoon training started, her racing heartbeat still had not slowed down? And then, fast forward to the evening in dorm 304. You will not believe why Du Hang suddenly screamed. That video of their formation demonstration had gone totally viral, ranking 47th on the trending list. Right under the hot topic, military training flag bearer. The pinned clip was only 15 seconds long, but it captured Chingming's stunning profile perfectly. His youthful energy practically burst right through the screen, and the comments section exploded instantly. Is this actually military training, or are they just shooting a movie? Countless netizens were frantically asking what school he goes to. Jiangchang University, majoring in computer science. His name is Chingming, and he is already a total campus legend. Once his identity leaked, a verified talent agency actually came knocking in the comments, asking for his number. Dane gasped. He yelled over to the desk that a talent agency was looking for him. But Chingming just kept coding, ignoring it completely. Dewey Tang opened his mouth to speak. Staring at Chingming's sharp profile in the screen's blue glow, he muttered to himself. With looks like that, is he really here just to study? Meanwhile, parked quietly in the deep shadows outside the school gates was a black Maybach. Inside, a man checked the trending topics and made a low-voice call, reporting that the young master was doing well at school. He is just a little too conspicuous. On the other end, an old but steady laugh echoed, sounding just like his father. Suddenly, the old man's voice turned icy, carrying a heavy, suffocating pressure. "Leave him be. Let him handle things himself. But if anyone dares to touch him, you know exactly what to do." The Maybach drove off silently. But here's the thing, the crazy storm brewing around Chingming is way bigger than we think. In the blink of an eye, day 10 arrived. The schedule cut straight to the most hardcore subject: military boxing and hand-to-hand combat. Instructor Sun stripped off his camo jacket, revealing a rock-solid, muscular build and nasty scars on his arms. His eagle-like gaze swept the entire formation. Military combat has only one real purpose: neutralize your opponent as fast as possible. No flashy moves allowed. He demonstrated the form right on the spot. His punches ripped through the air, every single strike ruthless and highly precise. Practice began. Du Hang was getting absolutely wrecked, flailing in pure panic. Meanwhile, Chingming and Ran Fang stood facing each other. Ran Fang threw the first punch, aiming straight for Chingming's face. Shockingly, Chingming just shifted his body slightly, dodging it with the smallest movement. Ran Fang's eyes narrowed instantly. His second strike was faster and way more aggressive, but Chingming did not even move his feet. He simply leaned his upper body back a fraction of an inch, the wind brushing his chin. Ran Fang pulled his hand back, eyes wide with shock. Reaction speed like that is definitely not normal, but Chingming remained completely expressionless. Not bad. While everyone else practiced, Instructor Sun walked over toward Chingming and suddenly stopped in his tracks. He stared intently at Chingming's movements, his brow furrowing. Everyone else was just throwing flashy, empty punches. But Chingming's moves were real, lethal combat strictly designed for a live battlefield. Every strike radiated the terrifying, murderous intent of a battle-hardened killer. Instructor Sun watched silently for 30 seconds, then suddenly barked out Chingming's name. Chingming stood at attention. "Come spar with me." The moment Instructor Sun issued the challenge, the entire company fell dead silent. Dewey Tang flinched mid-move, nearly punching Wang Che right in the face. Wang Shi grabbed him instantly, whispering to just stay quiet and watch. Standing opposite Chingming, Instructor Sun casually rolled his neck and wrists, telling him it was just a simple, friendly spar. Told him not to be nervous. But Chingming, looking completely unbothered, replied that he wasn't. The very next second, Instructor Sun launched a brutal attack, a straight jab twice as fast as before. The fist howled through the air, aiming straight for Chingming's nose. Yet, the young man did not step back at all. He didn't even raise his hands to block. Instead, he just pivoted his body, turning barely 10 degrees. Instructor Sun's fist grazed the edge of his shoulder, passing right by him. The distance was precise down to a single centimeter. Watch closely, the instructor's eyes shrank as his heart pounded. This extreme spacing is absolutely terrifying. He immediately followed up with a nasty right hook, aiming straight for Chingming's jaw. This strike was incredibly fast, leaving a literal blur in the air. Just in time, Chingming tilted his head back while his left hand shot up like lightning. He didn't clash with brute force. Instead, he lightly pressed his palm against the instructor's forearm, smoothly redirecting the momentum away. That powerful hook was instantly neutralized, vanishing into thin air. Instructor Sun stopped dead in his tracks, staring intently at the young man. Suddenly, a wild, excited grin spread across his face. Interesting. Before his shout even fades, his fists suddenly blur. A third strike, a fourth, then a fifth. An absolute avalanche of heavy blows rains down on him. Every single strike tears through the air with a piercing whistle. Instructor Sun is playing for keeps now. He wants to find this mysterious kid's ultimate limits, but Chingming is already moving like the wind. Swaying with almost imperceptible micro-movements, he effortlessly dodges every strike, just like a feather drifting on the breeze. No matter how wild the onslaught gets, it always misses by a hair. The watching crowd stands totally dumbfounded. Du Shang's mouth hangs wide open. Ranfeng just stands there with crossed arms, his smile widening right up to the 12th punch. Instructor Sun throws a massive, near-limit overhand right, and suddenly, Chingming stops dodging. He thrusts out his right hand, his fingers instantly spreading wide to meet the strike. With a sharp, loud smack, he catches that massive fist, dead in its tracks. Chingming's arm bends slightly to absorb the impact. Imagine that. His entire frame stands completely immovable as a mountain. The only sound left is the howling wind. Instructor Sun's near maximum strike is caught firmly by a single hand. Chingming's face remains incredibly calm, his breathing completely steady and relaxed. Only then does he slowly release his grip, calmly uttering just 3 words: "Good match, instructor." Instructor Sun stands completely frozen for 3 whole seconds. Then he takes a deep breath, turns to the recruits, and yells, "Did you all see that? That is the absolute essence of combat, using minimal movement to neutralize maximum force." He gives Chingming one final, deep look before dismissing the class. But then total chaos. The field completely erupts. Everyone is frantically gossiping about that unbelievable one-handed catch. Du Shang instantly dashes over. Grabbing Chingming's arm with wide eyes, he screams out, "Ming, when did you secretly learn these godlike martial arts?" Chingming looks totally unfazed, replying that it is just basic combat, and the instructor clearly went easy on him. Du Shang waves his hands frantically, yelling bullshit. Any idiot could see the instructor was going completely all out. Chingming doesn't argue, knowing the instructor definitely put at least 70% of his power into those final punches. Taking 70% head-on meant his real skills are now fully exposed, no hiding it. Meanwhile, Instructor Sun walks off to the edge of the field alone. His expression is incredibly complex as he stands grave in the deep shade. Pulling out his phone, his fingers hover over the screen for a tense moment before finally dialing an old, dormant number. The call connects. Sun cuts straight to business. "It is Sun," he says. The person on the other end pauses, then chuckles, teasing him about running off to be some training instructor. Sun is in absolutely no mood for jokes. In a terrifyingly low voice, he asks about the top-tier experts who retired from special ops back in the day. Did any of those guys go retire in Yunnan province? The other end of the line immediately goes dead silent. Old Du stays quiet for a long, heavy moment before suddenly asking why he is even bringing this up. Sun tells him the truth, explaining that he just ran into a terrifying 18-year-old freshman. His skills are unbelievable. I used 70% of my power, throwing 12 consecutive punches, and he easily neutralized every single one. He even caught my very last strike dead in its tracks with just one hand. You can practically feel the tension as the line falls completely silent, save for some heavy, shaky breathing. Old Du's voice literally trembles as he asks if he is sure the kid is only 18, demanding his name. Sun answers Chingming. A sharp, terrified gasp suddenly echoes over the receiver. Old Du lowers his voice, his tone carrying a sharp warning. "You absolutely cannot breathe a single word of this to anyone." Sun's heart instantly sinks. Sun presses for a reason, and only then does Old Du relent. His voice is incredibly complex as he warns Sun to back off immediately. "Stop testing him right now." Why? Because you cannot even begin to fathom his real depth. Old Du coldly spits out a single question. "Do you remember the undefeated champion of the 2008 Joint Military Combat Tournament?" Sun's entire body violently jolts. His face instantly turns deathly pale as cold sweat creeps down his spine. That 2008 champion was a literal myth in the military, with 27 consecutive, flawless victories. 3 of those matches were against top-tier foreign special forces, absolute life-or-death struggles where he never suffered a single defeat. After retiring, that legend vanished completely. To think he actually secluded himself in the deep mountains, spending 10 whole years pouring his entire lifelong mastery of combat into this one single child. Just pretend you never met him, understand? Then the line cuts off, leaving a piercing dial tone. Sun stands frozen in the shadows, his eyes falling once again on the kid down on the field, who was casually bending over to tie his shoelaces. Under the afternoon sun, Chingming looked incredibly ordinary and quiet. He seemed like a fragile scholar who could not even hurt a fly. But Suna gripped his phone tightly, knowing the truth deep down. Underneath that calm surface was a terrifying beast. Suna let out a slow breath and shoved the phone deep into his pocket. Realization flashed in his eyes. He was done. This water was way too deep. If he dug any further, he was absolutely terrified he would get dragged down into the dark abyss. Later that day, a wild post exploded on the school forum. It turned out Chingming was not just incredibly handsome, his fighting strength was off the charts. He had actually blocked an instructor's heavy punch with one hand during combat training. The post immediately shot to the very top of the trending page. The comment section immediately started spiraling out of control with people asking if this guy was some kind of walking glitch. His stats are completely maxed out. It is one thing to look that good, but he can actually fight like a beast. Is there anything this guy cannot do? Well, he certainly cannot look bad. Right below, some candid photos in the thread drove everyone completely wild. In the pictures, the boy stopped the instructor's massive fist using just one hand. He did not even budge a single inch. The sharp muscles on his forearm were clearly visible, yet his face remained chillingly calm, almost looking a little bored. You can bet the comment section went completely feral, and of course, Bai Chushu saw every single bit of it. She scrolled through all the praise for Chingming before suddenly slamming her phone face down. Her roommate asked what she was staring at. Her roommate peeked down from the top bunk, teasing her red ears as she claimed it was nothing. Even though Bai Chushu denied it out loud, the second her roommate turned away, she secretly lit up her screen once more. She zoomed in on the shot of him blocking that strike, stared at it, and saved it. But a second later, she panicked and hit delete. Of course, she immediately regretted deleting it, and ended up pulling it right back out of her trash bin before burying her face in her pillow. Her heart was beating like a drum. She kept telling herself she did not actually like Chingming, and that saving the image was just for academic research. Honestly, who would ever believe that? While her mind was in complete chaos, she had no clue that the next morning, the entire training field would be packed with crowds wanting a show. Even instructors from other units showed up. Someone mentioned they heard his unit had a legendary freshman, but Instructor Sun kept a straight face and claimed the kid was just average. They joked he could not beat the kid even at 70% strength, but he told them to shut up. He might have called the kid average, but the second Chingming stepped out, everyone was completely staring. And this time, Chingming was not holding back. After 10 straight days of exhausting basic training, his body was begging for a chance to cut loose. He pushed his physical movements to the absolute limit. The wind literally howled around him, his rapid kicks producing sharp sonic cracks as they tore right through the empty air. A clean straight punch, a spinning back kick, a flawless dodge, and a tight elbow strike. The entire sequence flowed like liquid fire, leaving the crowd completely speechless. Right at that moment, for his final move, Chingming launched into a spinning aerial kick, striking a nearby tree with intense force. With a loud snap, an arm-thick branch was torn clean off. The wood was cut as clean as if a sword had sliced it. The entire field went dead silent before exploding into wild cheers, while Chingming just reset his stance, catching his breath. In the next second, he reached up and swept his sweat-dampened bangs back from his eyes. Standing under the bright sun, his casual hair flip looked straight out of a movie. Nearby, a girl trembled and dropped her phone, but she did not even try to pick it up because her legs had gone completely weak. Over on the other side, Bai Chushu was also training when Dujing let out a loud shout. Dujing yelled that Chingming was incredibly fierce, the sound echoing across the field. Bai Chushu's ears twitched, but she kept practicing her forms without looking over. Still, her eyes kept drifting in his direction against her will until she heard that loud crack of the heavy branch snapping. Her fist instantly froze in midair. Unable to resist any longer, she turned her head, looking across dozens of meters to see the exact moment the boy stood by the broken tree and swept his hair back. Seeing that one simple motion, Bai Chushu quickly pulled her fist back, but her entire body felt like it was catching fire, blushing heavily from her cheeks to the tips of her ears. Right then, Lu Ruian strolled up with a teasing smirk, completely shattering her cool composure by jokingly asking if she still felt absolutely nothing. Bai Chushu's face turned as red as a cooked shrimp. She shut her eyes, took 3 deep breaths, and finally spoke in a voice of total defeat. She told Lu Ruian she felt completely frozen, admitting she might be running a real fever. Lu Ruian laughed so hard her sides began to ache, teasingly asking if she was sure it was a fever and not her heart-skipping beats. Bachu goes completely quiet, burying her face in her hands. Lu Ruian squats right beside her, whispering that since she was little, she has always had the absolute best of everything. Nobody around her ever made her feel like she had to look up to them, but right now, that has completely changed. Following a heavy silence, a tiny, quiet voice finally slips through Bachu's fingers. Yeah, he really is incredible. On the second to last day of military training, Chingming heads to the library alone, wearing a black mask and a cap. His only plan is quietly grabbing a few major-related textbooks without any fuss. He wants to get a head start on his college classes. But get this library trip is about to change everything. Walking into the stacks, he hears a voice. Soft. Annoyed. Someone on the other side of the bookshelf is muttering that the research paper is totally wrong. The complexity should be ON log N, not ON squared. This entire derivation is seriously flawed. It is a crisp, cold female voice, dripping with the intense perfectionism of a hardcore academic. Chingming does not think much of it at first, but the voice keeps getting closer, muttering about using divide and conquer instead of a brute force search, before realizing the boundaries are not handled. Suddenly, a corner turns. A woman steps right out of the aisle. She is wearing a white button-down shirt, a black skirt, gold-rimmed glasses, and has her hair in a simple low ponytail. Her eyes are absolutely glued to the papers in her hands, completely oblivious to where she is walking. Chingming moves to the side to give her room, but she does not even notice. The next second thud, she runs face first right into Chingming's chest. Papers scatter all over the library floor with a loud rustle, and her gold glasses get knocked completely crooked. She stumbles back, almost falls. But Chingming catches her arm, saying to be careful. Regaining her balance, she frowns and looks up, then freezes completely. Thanks to the impact, Chingming's mask slips down, exposing half of his face. His glowing amber eyes look like priceless gems under the library lights. She stands there totally starstruck, so Chingming just squats down to start gathering her scattered research papers. Research on graph theory optimization algorithms based on an improved depth-first search. Author, Chen Shu. He stacks the pages neatly, hands them back, and says it is her paper. The woman finally snaps out of her daze. As their fingers brush, she pulls her hand back like she got burned, stuttering out a quick thank you as her voice trembles. Chingming adjusts his mask. A simple warning. Do not read while walking. Then he leaves. Just like that. Chen Shu stands there frozen, clutching the papers as a dark blush spreads to her ears. She is Chen Shu, a 24-year-old PhD returnee. As the youngest lecturer in computer science, she is known as the academic circle's Ice Queen. But right now, her heart is hammering so fast she might need a cardiologist. Looking down at her papers, she spots a stray strand of hair that definitely does not belong to her. Almost like she is possessed, she actually tucks it inside the pages. Taking off her glasses, the cold, untouchable aura on her delicate face completely shatters. She presses the back of her hand against her burning cheek. Muttering to herself about elevated body temperature and facial flushing, she tries to diagnose herself with clinical terms before reaching a hilarious conclusion. It must be a bad air conditioning setting causing a sudden disruption in my body's thermal regulation. Yes, it is definitely the air conditioning. It has nothing to do with him. She takes 2 steps, then suddenly stops, spinning around to look back in the direction where Chingming just disappeared. The hallway is completely empty, yet the air still carries a faint, clean scent of laundry detergent and sunlight, his unique scent. Chen Shu takes one deep, shaky breath, and then practically runs out of the library to escape her own feelings. Now here is the absolute best part. She has no idea that this beautiful boy is actually her new student next Monday. Computer Science and Technology, Class 3, Row 5, Seat 3. Chingming. Just like that, the final day of military training is finally here. The grand closing ceremony features the massive school-wide formation display, alongside intense combat demonstrations and individual awards. But let's be real, the packed crowd in the stands is there for one thing only. That viral video of the gorgeous military training flag bearer on Weibo has officially exploded past 30 million views. Now, the entire internet is desperate for a clear photo of this mysterious campus god. Du Shang is pacing around in a complete panic, telling Chingming that he is definitely getting called on stage today. He will have to face the cameras, but Chingming looks totally unfazed, asking himself if panicking would even change anything. At 9 a.m., the grand ceremony begins, with Chingming stepping up once again as the official flag bearer. As the 7th company marches in, the entire stadium instantly explodes with wild cheers. The crowd is roaring way louder than before, and this time, several more media reporters are packing the stands, armed with massive telephoto lenses. As the formation march wraps up, Chingming frowns slightly. Things are escalating way faster than he expected. But right after, Instructor Sun hits him with a task he cannot refuse. During the awards segment, there is a talent showcase. Command specifically wants you to show off some combat skills for 3 minutes. Instructor Sun gives him a deep look and adds one last sentence. Do not go too crazy. Finally, with the entire crowd buzzing in anticipation, the host loudly calls out his name. Up next, please welcome the outstanding individual representative of the 7th company, Chingming. The moment those words drop, the stands instantly explode. All those cheers and screams merge into a terrifying wave of sound that nearly blows the roof off the stadium. Up on the rostrum, the principal is totally dumbfounded. Is this student really that popular? He asks. The vice principal just smiles. Riley, you do not go online much. This kid is already a viral phenomenon. Right at that moment, Chingming steps out of the formation. He peels off his camo jacket, wearing only an olive green fitted shirt. His perfect broad-shouldered, narrow-waisted physique is now on full display under the gaze of the entire crowd. The muscle definition on his arms stands out clearly in the sunlight, incredibly lean and powerful. No cap, no mask, and no glasses. His completely unobstructed profile is exposed to the open sunlight for the very first time. Thousands of eyes and at least 20 camera lenses focus in. The stands instantly go from frantic screaming to an eerie silence. He is just too breathtaking. Sunlight hits his face directly, illuminating his brow bone, nose, and sharp jawline. Every inch of his face looks like a high-definition close-up, especially those amber eyes now free from glasses, cold and profound, like gazing into a deep, frozen lake. One girl in the stands just stares at his face and actually starts crying softly. Just then, Chingming closes his eyes and takes a deep breath. His eyes snap open. He launches a front-straight punch, fast as an afterimage, his fist emitting a sharp crack through the air. He follows it immediately with a side kick, his legs snapping up to head height, fierce and crisp. Then comes a fluid, seamless combo. Straight punch, hook, front kick, followed by an elbow strike. His speed builds, growing faster and faster, blurring before everyone. By the end, they only see a blur, spinning in the center of the field like a razor-sharp gust of wind. Exactly 3 minutes, down to the second. Get ready for this. For his final move, he leaps into the air, spins 360 degrees, and whips his right leg out. The wind literally howls from the sheer force. Landing perfectly, he drops to one knee, bracing himself with one fist on the ground, as solid as a stone statue. The entire stadium goes dead silent for 3 seconds. Then, over 3,000 people leap to their feet as thunderous applause explodes. Up on the rostrum, the military training commander and the principal lead a massive standing ovation. The 3rd company's instructor is totally dumbfounded. He chokes out a quick question to Instructor Sunday. Do you seriously call this average? He asks. Instructor Sun's mouth twitches wildly, but he keeps a straight face. Yes, it really is average. He only used 30% of his strength. By then, Chingming has already stood up, walking back to his formation, passing his instructor. He asks softly, Hey, Instructor Sun, I did not go too crazy, did I? Instructor Sun just shoots him a quick glance, saying it was all right. Finally, the awards ceremony begins, crowning the 7th company as outstanding. As for the Outstanding Individual Award, Chingming. When he walks up to the rostrum, the principal personally hands it over, shaking his hand. He tells him to keep up the great work as camera flashes go off in a blinding wave. Chingming's face remains totally calm, but from the corner of his eye, he catches a glimpse of someone in the stands. Bichu Shu is clapping vigorously. Her expression is still aloof, but her eyes are shining incredibly bright right now. Chingming pulls his gaze back, faces the cameras, and the corners of his lips actually curl up in a tiny, subtle smile. But that tiny smirk? It is perfectly captured by a high-power telephoto lens right in the front row. The photographer quickly zooms in on the shot, seeing the boy's upturned lips, the bright sunlight, and a fleeting gentleness. He swears under his breath and frantically holds down his shutter. This exact photo is about to blow up all over the internet. The post is titled, He Smiled, and the comment section is flooded with everyone saying their hearts totally melted. And just like that, training wraps up. Honestly, you can almost smell the sweet osmanthus as classes officially start in mid-September. Computer Science Class 3's very first lecture is C, Programming. The massive lecture hall, built for 150 people, is almost full with 147 students. Duji Tang is stunned. Are all these people really in our class? He wonders. Hansi rolls his eyes. Half of them are here from other majors just to see Chingming. Why else would they be here for a programming class? Du Jiang looked back. In the corner, Chingming sat fully disguised in a cap, mask, and glasses. Yet, out of 147 pairs of eyes, 146 were glued directly to him. Du Jiang sighed and sat next to Chingming. Ming, your entire schedule leaked. Somebody literally posted a complete guide to your classes on the forum. 3,000 people bookmarked it. Chingming merely turned a textbook page without saying a single word. Just then, the classroom door swung open. A woman stepped inside wearing a white button-down, a black pencil skirt, and gold-rimmed glasses. Her high heels clicked sharply against the floor. Every step sounded crisp and professional as she stood at the podium and looked up. "I am your instructor, Chen Shu," she announced. Her voice was cold and clear, carrying a strong sense of pure authority. The room instantly fell dead silent, simply because this instructor was shockingly beautiful. Her cold aura was like a layer of frost over her delicate features, making everyone want to get close, yet far too intimidated to try. Du Jiang's eyes went wide. "She is our teacher?" Beside him, Zhao Ming Yuan whispered some gossip. "That is Chen Shu, a 24-year-old doctorate graduate and the youngest lecturer here. They call her the iceberg goddess." Up at the podium, Chen Shu opened her laptop, her gaze sweeping the room. "First off, this class has a limit of 60 students. We currently have 140 people in here. Anyone not registered for this class, please leave." Whispers rippled through the classroom, but nobody moved. Chen Shu's expression remained icy as her voice dropped. "I will say this only one more time. Please leave. This is a university classroom, not some wet market." The heavy pressure she radiated was absolutely immense. Finally, unregistered students reluctantly began walking out, but even at the door, they kept glancing back toward the very last row. Chen Shu noticed where they were looking and followed their eyes, landing right on a guy wearing a cap, mask, and glasses. He was just staring down, casually flipping through a book. She only paused for a second, unable to make out his face. She quickly looked away and finished clearing the room. 5 minutes later, the entire classroom finally quieted down. Chen Shu started her lecture. "Today is our very first class, so we won't talk about coding yet. Let's start with a basic question. What is programming?" Her entire teaching style was exactly like her personality, fast, cold, and incredibly precise. Not a single wasted word. She did not bother with any warm-up and cut straight to the point, but she taught incredibly well. Her logic was flawless, and the entire structure was perfect. Du Jiang sat listening in absolute awe. This teacher really knows her stuff. Chingming, however, popped out one earbud, leaned back, and narrowed his eyes. He was not sleepy. He was simply thinking this material was way too basic for him. He had self-taught the entire college computer science curriculum by age 12. At 16, using the alias Ghost, he easily won the Global Hacker Championship. See, coding was as natural as breathing to him. But he was not completely zoning out. He was still listening. Chen Shu's teaching method was highly logical and incredibly beginner-friendly. She is definitely a good instructor. His gaze shifted from his textbook to Chen Shu at the podium. White shirt, gold-rimmed glasses, and a very serious profile. He suddenly realized that the woman he bumped into at the library 2 days ago was actually his new teacher. Talk about a small world. Halfway through, Chen Shu started a live demo, projecting a snippet of code for everyone to analyze. "This is a bubble sort. Take a look, everyone. Are there any issues with it?" Most of the students looked completely lost. They had not even learned basic syntax yet. A minute later, Chen Shu spoke up. Did anyone spot the problem? Not a single hand went up. Honestly, she was already quite used to this. Finding a student who could spot an error in their very first class was a once-in-a-decade miracle. "Then let me explain." Line 7. A deep, clear voice suddenly spoke from the very back row. Everyone turned to look. Chingming leaned back and casually delivered his answer. "The loop boundary condition on line 7 is incorrect. It is going to cause an array out-of-bounds access error." Chen Shu froze and stared at the screen. That was exactly the subtle bug she had intentionally left behind. Yet this quiet student actually spotted it at a single glance. She instinctively asked if he saw anything else. "The swap logic on line 13 can be replaced with an exclusive or operation to reduce memory overhead." Chingming paused, then added one more detail. "Plus, this bubble sort is way too inefficient. I suggest switching to a quick sort instead." You could hear a pin drop in the room. Absolutely, everyone stared in total shock toward the back row, focusing on this mysterious guy in the hat and mask. Keep in mind, this is their very first class. They have not even written basic code, and he is already discussing algorithm time complexity. Chen Shu stood frozen at the podium, her fingers unconsciously tightening around the pen in her hand. She stared intently at the figure in the very last row. The hat, the mask, the glasses, but those amber eyes completely exposed. Those cold, shimmering eyes. Chen Shu recognized him instantly. It was the same guy who bumped into him at the library. The exact person who helped him gather his scattered thesis papers, making his temperature go completely haywire. Turns out the kid was his own student. Chen Shu's head buzzed, his grip tightening until snap. His composure shattered with his pen. Everyone was staring. Chen Shu looked down, glancing at the broken fragments on his desk. His ears flushed red instantly. but his voice remained steady, as if nothing happened. It was a perfectly professional and objective response with zero bias. Well, except for those ears that looked red enough to bleed. The bell rang, ending the class. Chingming packed his bag at lightning speed, wanting to slip away. Dai Tang and the others moved ahead to run interference, but right as they reached the exit, a cold voice rang out from the podium. Student Chingming. He froze right in his tracks, turned around, and walked back toward the podium completely alone. Total silence. Chen Shu got straight to the point, asking if the kid had ever studied programming before. Chingming gave a nonchalant shrug. I have learned a little bit. Hearing this, Chen Shu pushed up his glasses. What he said actually goes far beyond the normal undergraduate scope, covering advanced topics like algorithmic complexity analysis. Those are junior-level concepts. When asked to what extent he had self-studied, Chingming thought for a brief moment before calmly saying he had learned it all. Chen Shu went completely quiet, staring at the young man standing before him with those incredibly calm, indifferent eyes. The kid was so relaxed, as if self-studying a whole 4-year curriculum was the most ordinary thing in the world. This kid is no ordinary student. Get ready, because Chen Shu is about to drop an unprecedented invitation. My graduate research group has a discussion next Wednesday afternoon. You should come and audit. An undergrad auditing a grad seminar? That has never happened in department history. Chingming just gave him a cool look. He calmly muttered a simple, sure. Chen Shu gave him the details room 407 at 2 p.m. Chingming just nodded and walked out. Suddenly, Chen Shu called out to him one more time. But right as Chingming turned his head, a sharp gust of wind swept by. His hood blew back, letting a bright beam of sunlight illuminate his face. Chen Shu's brain instantly short-circuited. He completely forgot his words, only stammering that he would see him next Wednesday. Only after Chingming was long gone did Chen Shu collapse into his chair, covering his flushed face with a folder while muttering to himself. This is totally normal. No, wait, this is highly abnormal. He is a student, and I am the teacher. Keep it together, Chen Shu. You cannot let your heart flutter. Yet, he moved the folder aside, staring quietly at the ceiling. His muffled voice whispered that it was probably already too late. Meanwhile, Chingming had just left the academic hall and was heading straight back to his dorm. Suddenly, a gentle voice called out to him from behind student Chingming. He turned. It was actually the vice president of the student union, Xiao Yuxing. Dressed in a flowing light blue gown with her long hair draped softly down, her radiant smile literally had boys walking into trees. Chingming recognized her, leaving Xiao Yuxing pleasantly surprised that he knew her from seeing her at the freshman orientation ceremony. Taking a few steps closer, Xiao Yuxing tilted her head, playfully pointing out that it was only day 1 after military training and he was already maskless. Chingming instinctively touched his cheek, only now realizing the wind had completely swept his mask away earlier. I am used to it, Chingming replied flatly. Xiao Yuxing just smiled. With a smile full of affectionate senior energy, she asked for his help with an upcoming task for the student union. Turns out, next week's freshman orientation gala is streaming live, and they need his system debugging. Since she heard Chingming was an absolute wizard at programming, she came out here specifically to recruit his help. It was a pretty flawless excuse, but let's be real, Di Tang watching from afar saw right through her desperate play to get close. Honian was utterly speechless at how slow they were to realize that. Chingming thought for a moment before casually asking when and where he should show up. Xiao Yuxing handed him a card, saying it had all her contact details. Chingming took it. Fine. Friday afternoon, Xiao Yuxing's smile grew even wider. Turning to leave, she suddenly glanced back, teasing that he looked so much better without his glasses on today. With a quick, playful wink, she turned and strolled away with an incredibly light, cheerful bounce in her step. However, this entire exchange was witnessed by someone else. Baichu had just stepped out of the neighboring building. She saw Xiao Yuxing hand him the card, saw her playful wink, and watched Chingming slip it directly into his pocket. Standing silently on the steps, she glared ahead while chewing her milk tea straw completely beyond recognition. Standing right beside her, Lu Ruyan saw through the whole thing. Yep, Xiao Yuqing was finally making her move. Bai Chu's voice was icy, claiming it had nothing to do with her. But then why did she bite her straw flat? She just looked down. After a silent 2 seconds, she threw that 38 yuan milk tea straight into the trash. She was completely done with it. With that, she spun around and stormed off, walking twice as fast as she normally would. Lu Ruyan followed right behind, laughing so hard she could barely stand. Even the Sioux University campus bell seemed jealous of that noise. The next day in advanced math, the huge lecture hall built for 200 people was packed with 193 students. Duzi Tang was totally numb to it, realizing that whenever Chingming had a class, the attendance rate instantly doubled. He basically had more star power than a celebrity at a concert, but Chingming ignored 90% of those staring eyes. Slipping right into a corner in the back row, he popped on his headphones, the perfect defensive shield. But while this barrier could block ordinary students, it could never stop Bai Chu. Watch this, she just walked in. Stepping inside, her eyes naturally drifted toward the back row before she quickly snapped them away, acting like she saw absolutely nothing. Lu Ruyan teasingly asked where they should sit, and Bai Chu shrugged, saying she was fine with wherever. And the spot Lu Ruyan pointed to was literally right in front of Chingming. Bai Chu froze instantly and glared at her, accusing Lu Ruyan of doing this on purpose while her friend played totally innocent. Insisting it was a pure coincidence, Lu Ruyan smiled wide, leaving Bai Chu to just take a deep breath. With nearly 200 pairs of eyes watching, changing seats now would just create a scene, so she sighed and told her friend to move. Keeping her face completely blank, she walked over and sat down. Her movements were smooth and elegant without any hesitation, though the loud screech of her chair scraping the floor made it pretty obvious she sat down with way too much force. Once seated, Bai Chu kept her back incredibly straight. Only one row separated her from Chingming, a distance of just 1.2 meters if he decided to lean forward even a tiny bit. He was so close his breath could reach her skin, and realizing this, the back of her neck instantly began to flush red. Lu Ruyan caught a quick glimpse her ears had indeed turned totally red. Meanwhile, Du Zitang whispered to Chingming. Nudging him with an elbow, he pointed out that Bai Chu was sitting right there, but Chingming's face remained completely blank. He calmly muttered that he saw her, making his friend wonder how he wasn't nervous after scaring her off last time. Chingming just tilted his chin up, showing zero fear, but this advanced math class was such a lullaby that Du Zeng dozed off in 20 minutes. Han Xiao was out cold in 15, but Chingming just leaned back in his chair, his eyes drifting forward away from the blackboard. Instead, his gaze was locked on the back of Bai Chu's head, noticing how soft and pale her neck looked. A few loose hairs swayed slightly as she wrote, but he looked away after just 2 seconds. He felt like something was slightly off with his own reaction, just as the professor put up an incredibly brutal math problem. Du Zitang looked absolutely miserable, questioning if a human could even solve this, but Chingming wrote the answer down in just 3 seconds. Leaning back, his side vision caught Bai Chu furiously scribbling down her equations. Fast and neat. It actually made Chingming raise an eyebrow. Her math foundation was solid and her logic was right, but she made a fatal formula error in her very third step. It was a super easy slip-up, but one that would completely ruin her final answer. He hesitated for only a second. Then he did something that had Du Zitang staring in absolute, jaw-dropping shock. Look at this. He quietly ripped off the scratch paper, folded it, and flicked it with his finger, landing it perfectly right on Bai Chu's textbook. Bai Chu's pen stopped instantly as she looked down to unfold the note, revealing a line of very neat, sharp handwriting. Step 3 is wrong. Use Lol's rule instead. Reading that, she froze instantly. She shot a quick glance back at Chingming, but he played it cool, staring blankly toward the blackboard. Bai Chu rechecked her work, her face suddenly shifting as she realized he was right, cursing herself before quickly correcting her mistake. 3 minutes later, she finally got the right answer, clutching his note tightly while hesitating on what to do next. Eventually, she ripped off her own piece of paper, wrote 2 quick words, and flicked it backward. The tiny note drifted onto Chingming's desk, saying thank you in elegant handwriting with the last letter slightly dragged out. Clearly showing her hesitation, Chingming quietly slipped the note inside his book, a tiny smile actually tugging at his lips. Watching the whole romance unfold, Du Zitang pinched his thigh hard, his lips trembling as they passed notes. Passing notes in a college lecture? Seriously, did I just get transported into a cheap teen drama? Zhao Mingwan told him flatly to just shut up and watch. Du Zitang went quiet, but his mind was already racing. Once math class wrapped up, I stood up to leave. Out of nowhere, the school beauty Chu Shu got up at the exact same moment. To make it worse, the narrow exit forced us to walk side by side. I stepped forward, and she did, too. I picked up my pace, and she sped up. I slowed down, and she did the exact same. It felt like some weird spell of perfect synchronization. My roommates behind us were twitching their lips in utter confusion. Finally, Chu Shu couldn't take the awkwardness anymore. She stopped dead in her tracks, stepping aside to let me pass, telling me to go first. Her voice sounded cold, but her gorgeous face was totally flushed. I stopped, too. This was the first time I'd ever seen her from less than a meter away. Perfect almond eyes, long lashes, a straight nose, and full lips. Even though I was nearly 20 centimeters taller, her chin was still proudly raised. Her strong aura didn't shrink at all, and she was truly stunning. I looked away, muttered a quick fine, and stepped past her. My sleeve lightly brushed against the back of her hand. It was as gentle as a breeze, but her fingers suddenly curled up. We walked out of that classroom, one after the other. Then we split up in different directions, neither of us looking back once. Right away, her best friend Lu Ruian caught up, teasingly whispering that there was a total spark in his eyes when he looked at her. Chushu's footsteps came to a sudden halt. Meanwhile, the second I got back to my dorm, a WeChat alert popped up on my phone. The contact was labeled Student Union Notification, and the message laid it all out for student Chingming. Approved by President Lu Jing, you are now responsible for setting up Friday's freshman gala. Reporting to the gym tomorrow at 2 p.m.? I frowned immediately. I'm not even in the student union. I refused right away, telling them I'm not a member and have absolutely no obligation to participate. The reply came back instantly. The harsh tone between the lines left absolutely no room for any argument. They claim school regulations force outstanding military training recruits to assist, making this an official school assignment, not a personal request. An official assignment? I immediately grabbed the student handbook and flipped through it page by page, from start to finish. Unsurprisingly, there was no such regulation. This President Lu Jing had completely made the whole thing up. My roommate Du Zitang got so angry his face turned red, muttering that they just want to make you carry tables and hang banners. Ran Fang, my other roommate, pushed up his glasses and hit the nail on the head. His goal isn't just cheap manual labor. He wants to drain your time and energy. It's a compliance test. Give in, he gets worse. Refuse, and he'll claim you are defying official orders to deduct your credits. Suddenly, every single eye in the room was locked on me. Honestly, this looked like a total dead end. But watch this, I just leaned back, tapping my desk calmly. That regulation is fake, I said. Du Zitang's eyes widened. Wait, isn't he literally forging school rules then? A major violation, but I shook my head. Not enough, he'll just say the staff made a mistake. He'd shift the blame and walk away scot-free. As I spoke, I unlocked my phone, tapping the screen rapidly. I pulled up the back-end interface of the school database. Du Zitang leaned over and froze in shock, asking what I was doing. I'm just checking a few things. Several lines of hidden data quickly flashed across my screen, showing the internal chat logs of the student union officers. Right there, sent just half an hour ago, was a text from Lu Jing to his director, telling him to dump the venue setup on Chingming. He said to just lie about some school rules and mark me truant. Hearing this, Du Zitang gasped. He asked how I got my hands on this data. I just kept a calm face, saying I didn't even have to hack their system. Their security is just laughably low. Seriously, their master password was literally just 6 ones. My roommates stared at each other, completely speechless. Ran Fang pushed up his glasses, asking how I planned to use this evidence. Looking out the window, I said exposing this now would only make him cautious. It would be way harder to catch him later. I want him to keep going, thinking I'm a weak target so he gets even bolder. As the setting sun cast a golden glow over me, I turned around with cold, sharp eyes, waiting for him to make one final, fatal mistake. And then, I'll crush him once and for all. Hearing this, Du Zitang felt a sudden chill run straight down his spine. To him, I didn't look like some regular student anymore, but a dangerous dragon quietly lurking in the deep abyss. Without hesitation, I shot back a simple reply saying I'll be there. Du Zitang panicked immediately, asking if I was actually going. Isn't that just running away? I scoffed. You only back down when you are actually scared. Feigning weakness is just making the other person think you are terrified. Ran Fang understood immediately. You are baiting him. Lu Jing thinks he has already won. Next time, he will try an even bolder move. Exactly. So, how do we help? Du Zitang eagerly asked. Tomorrow, I am heading to the gym. Help me keep an eye on Lu Jing and his moves. Write down who he meets and what he says. No photos needed. Do not tip him off. Leave it to me, Du Zitang said, beating his chest. Then, I frowned slightly. I also need someone to dig into Lu Jing and find information on Lu real estate. Du Zitang scratched his head frantically. I am really not good at that kind of stuff. Just then, Ran Fang stepped up. I will do it, he said, removing his glasses. His eyes instantly looked a lot sharper. Lu Real Estate is a local firm here in Jiangcheng. They are actually not that big. His father, Lu Guang, is the chairman. They have been expanding too fast lately, so their cash flow is incredibly tight. How do you know all that? Du Zitang was totally stunned. Ran Fang just casually said that his family works in investment. Du Zitang was instantly frozen, a massive capital investor living like a regular student. Oh man, this roommate's background is clearly next level. I immediately looked at Ran Fang, asking him to check for any shady projects under Lu Real Estate. Sure, we are roommates, Ran Fang smiled. A flash of excitement crossed his face. Finally, there was something interesting to do. The next afternoon, I arrived at the gym right on time. About 20 people were already there, moving tables, hanging banners, and prepping the stage. The looks they gave me were pretty complicated. Some were curious, some awkward, and a few were even gloating. The site manager, Jin, assigned me my first chore. I had to carry 50 folding tables down from the second-floor warehouse to the first. With no elevator available, this was clearly just Lu Jing trying to make things miserable for me. This task usually took 5 people to complete, but they gave it all to me. Jin flashed a fake smile. "Sorry to trouble you, student Chingming," he said. "Fine by me." Without objecting, I turned and headed straight upstairs. Jin smirked at my back. He immediately pulled out his phone to text Lu Jing that I had arrived and started working without any fuss. Lu Jing sent back a single word. "Good." But the insane speed at which I began moving those tables left everyone completely speechless. Each table weighed 20 pounds. It takes a regular person 5 minutes to carry just one. Moving 50 tables should take 4 hours, but I grabbed 2 at once. That 40-pound weight felt like light paper in my hands as I marched up and down the stairs. My breathing stayed perfectly steady, just like a tireless machine. In only half an hour, all 50 tables were fully moved. Jin stared at the neatly stacked tables, his face completely frozen. He thought this manual labor would take the entire evening, but I finished in 30 minutes without even breaking a sweat. "Anything else?" I asked. "No, not right now." But just as I reached the exit, I caught a glimpse of a figure watching from the second-floor balcony. Lu Jing stood there with his arms crossed, staring down at me with pure arrogance. His smug grin practically screamed that no matter what he planned, I still had to obey him like a dog. I just pushed the door open and left, showing no emotion. Seeing that, Lu Jing's smile widened. He quickly pulled out his phone and made a call. He asked if they found anything on Chingming's past. A low voice replied that it was clean. Too clean. "What do you mean by that?" Lu Jing demanded. "His official records only start from high school. Before that, his life is an absolute blank. His current residency is registered in Danqing. His mother is deceased, and his father is unknown." Lu Jing muttered that this was definitely not normal. "Oh, this is getting crazy. Unless someone wiped his past, he has to be from some insanely powerful family." The voice warned Lu Jing to stop messing with him. Lu Jing's eyes flickered, but he did not seem to care. "He's just a penniless student," he scoffed. "Even if someone erased his records, it is likely due to a shameful family secret, like being some rich guy's illegitimate son." "Dad, I know exactly what I am doing. I am just giving him some minor trouble at school." A heavy sigh came from the other end. "Suit yourself, but do not take it too far," his dad warned. "Don't worry," Lu Jing replied, hanging up to stare at the gym doors. "A completely blank past, huh? The deeper I dig, the more interesting this gets," he sneered coldly. "I don't care who you are in this school. I am the one calling the shots here." But what he did not realize was that a chubby figure was hiding right behind a pillar on the balcony. Du Zitang had overheard every single word of that conversation. His hands shook, not with fear, but pure excitement. A completely unknown father. His history was intentionally wiped. Du Zitang clenched his fists. He always knew that Brother Ming was special, but he never imagined that even Lu Jing's powerful father could not uncover his past. What could this possibly mean? It means his backer, or that entire family, is way more powerful than Lu Real Estate. They can literally wipe someone's entire past from every database. Du Jiang quietly slipped away from the pillar. He had to tell me this news immediately. That night in dorm 304, Du Jiang recounted everything he overheard in detail. Wang Qi was completely speechless. Ranfang's expression didn't change, but his fingers tapped lightly on the table. I fell silent after listening. He actually tried digging into my background, but found absolutely nothing. Du Jiang spoke up urgently. "Brother Ming," my dad said, "anyone who can wipe a past is not ordinary. Won't Lu Jing back off?" "No," I replied calmly. "Why?" Du Jiang asked. "You heard him. I am just a poor student to him." My tone remained totally flat. Not being able to find my background will only trigger his competitive streak. He wants to prove he's not afraid of anyone. So what will he do next? He'll double down. I swiped open my phone, showing the data Ranfang sent this afternoon. One entry was highlighted in red. Lu Real Estate's Jing. He project is under investigation for questionable land approval procedures. Their construction is suspended, and their capital chain is under serious pressure. Lu Jing's confidence comes from his family, I said. But they are not as stable as he thinks, Ranfang chimed in. They invested nearly 800 million in the Xingbei project. If that fails, all that cash goes down the drain. His father is completely overwhelmed right now and has no time for him. Du Jiang understood instantly. So the backer Lu Jing relies on is actually crumbling, he said. Exactly, I replied, putting my phone away. I only uttered one word. Just wait. His next move is coming soon, and the perfect stage for it? The freshman gala this Friday. That is Lu Jing's home turf. He won't let this slip. Du Jiang shivered, feeling like I didn't seem like an 18-year-old freshman at all. I was more like a chess master who had already seen the entire endgame. The night was still. The dorm lights went out. In the pitch black, my phone screen suddenly lit up. A message from the old man warned someone is digging into my files. I already know. He asked if he should handle it. I simply replied with 2 words, no need. He instantly replied with a sticker of a cartoon old man giving a thumbs up. The caption read, "That is my grandson. You have got real guts." My lips curled slightly as I locked the screen. 3 minutes later, my breathing was steady as a predator conserving strength, quietly waiting before the storm arrives. Wednesday, 2 p.m. I arrived right on time at Lab 407 in the computer science building. It was small, but formulas covered the whiteboard. 6 graduate students were sitting inside. 4 master's students and 2 PhDs stared at me as I entered. Their eyes were filled with pure disdain. Santian lowered his voice and sneered. He thought a freshman star like me was just here to slack off. Talk about a huge mistake. My eyes immediately locked onto the whiteboard. A fatal flaw was hidden right in those calculations. I did not react to their whispering at all. Then Chen walked into the lab. Wearing a white shirt and black skirt, her gaze behind gold glasses paused on me for a split second. Then she looked away, expressionless, and started the lecture. The topic was an extremely difficult graph theory optimization algorithm. Santian stood at the podium, completely full of himself, talking about adjacency matrices and pruning strategies. He even looked back at me on purpose, but saw I was not confused at all. Instead, my brow was slightly furrowed. My fingers tapped rhythmically on the desk. 5 minutes later, the presentation ended, but the entire room hit a dead end. There was only one core problem. When nodes exceeded 1,000, the algorithm would produce massive numerical errors. The top students debated for 10 minutes, changing their plans over and over, but they could not break through this barrier. Chen Shu stood before the whiteboard, her finger pointing at the formula. Her brow was tightly knit. Right then, sitting in the back row, I spoke up in a flat tone, calling out the fix. The room went dead silent. The 6 elite students turned their heads in unison, their eyes shifting from contempt to absolute suspicion. Santian looked completely defiant. Chen Shu's finger froze in midair. She stared straight at me, her voice dropping low. "Go on," she said. I stood up, walked calmly to the podium, and picked up the whiteboard marker. Without a single moment of hesitation, I corrected the formula, completely rewrote the derivation, and resolved the error. My pen flew. My handwriting was neat and precise. Adding stage stability solves the entire issue instantly. Also, if you build on this and add a layer of memoization search, the actual runtime drops by another 40%. The entire process took less than 2 minutes, leaving the lab dead silent. Santian, the PhD student, had his mouth hanging wide open. The problem he spent 3 whole months on was solved by me on the spot. The graduate students went from smirking with contempt to jaw-dropping shock, ending in absolute awe. Meanwhile, Chen Shu stared hard at my formulas. Her eyes went wide. It wasn't the final answer that shook her, but my incredibly elegant step-by-step derivation. It was far more brilliant and refined than anything she'd ever imagined. Literally every single step was perfect. No freshman on Earth could pull this off. Taking a deep breath, she threw questions at me, but my replies totally blew her mind. I casually cited half a dozen top-tier research papers, including a massive study published just 3 months ago. That's when she realized I didn't just read and memorize these complex papers. I could actually make them better. Chen Shu abruptly ended the discussion, sending the stunned grads away. Now, only the 2 of us remained in the silent, heavy air of the lab. Breaking the silence, she spoke with total certainty. There's no way you just self-taught a few basic things. She stares at me like a scholar recognizing a true peer. Get ready, because her next words shift the whole vibe. Your coding skills, your grasp of the literature, your insane algorithm optimization. They easily surpass my absolute best students, she admits, demanding to know my true level as I meet her gaze. Keeping my voice soft, I ask what she'd do if I found a major flaw in her masterpiece. Chen Shu instantly freezes. I'm talking about her legendary paper, cited over 40 times worldwide. Trying to stay calm, she looks at me. Demanding to know where, she watches as I grab a marker, sketch a new formula, and write down my fix. In Chapter 4, Section 3, you use an implicit assumption that completely fails when applied to special sparse graphs. After finishing the derivation, I drop the marker and deliver my final blow, replacing it with a much weaker condition. That way, your theorem becomes infinitely more powerful. Chen Shu stands there, completely paralyzed. She's utterly stunned, staring at those math lines for an entire minute without even taking a breath before closing her eyes. When she opens them, a wild, brilliant fire ignites in her gaze, the pure fanaticism of a scholar discovering an absolute genius. "You are right," she whispers, a massive storm raging inside her. For 3 long years, nobody noticed this hidden flaw. Yet, this quiet freshman saw right through it. She stares intently at Chingming. Her voice trembles with deep disbelief as she asks who he really is, but Chingming stays completely silent. "I'm just Chingming, your student," he replies. Chenshu stares at him before slowly nodding. As she turns to wipe the board, Chingming notices her hand is trembling slightly. It's a wave of pure academic excitement she desperately wants to hide. That raw thrill of finding a true genius. Just as Chingming turns to leave, Chenshu suddenly calls out his name. She hands him a document, an ECM competition registration form. "A gold medal is practically guaranteed for you," she says. Chingming takes it with a quiet thank you, but as he opens the door, Chenshu speaks. Calling his name, Chingming turns and catches her just as she slowly takes off her glasses. Her usual icy defense completely shatters, exposing a rare, incredibly soft look of pure vulnerability. "You are absolutely incredible," she whispers softly, but the words hit like a snapped wire between them. Once Chingming leaves, Chenshu is left alone in the cold lab, taking deep, frantic breaths to calm her racing heart. But a moment later, she is at her computer, her ears burning a bright, embarrassed red. With trembling fingers, she types into Google, asking what to do if she's falling for her student, then stares for 3 seconds. She abruptly wipes her search history, acting normal. But watch closely, because a nasty conspiracy is already brewing in the shadows. On the eve of the grand school gala, Lu Jing stares coldly at the event schedule in his hands. He doesn't just want Chingming doing miserable grunt work backstage, he wants to manufacture a massive public scandal. He wants to completely destroy Chingming's reputation in front of everyone, forcing him back into being a pathetic, broke loser. Sneering at the thought, he sends a malicious text to modify tomorrow's highly anticipated gala program. He demands a random freshman talent showcase, and the contact immediately replies, asking who they should target. Lu Jing's eyes darken as he types out 2 words, making the person on the other end hesitate. They ask how to guarantee picking him if it's supposed to be a random draw, but Lu Jing just laughs coldly, texting back a mocking reply. Meanwhile, Chingming is quietly reading inside his dorm room when his phone suddenly begins to vibrate. It's a text from Xiao Yuqing, warning him about adjusting the livestream system tomorrow because the student union tech team claims they can handle it. They don't want any outside help. Frowning, Chingming types back, asking if this was her decision or someone else's. The answer comes back instantly. It was Lu Jing's idea, claiming they don't need any outsiders involved. Being called an outsider is pretty cold and insulting. Beside him, Du Zhang is absolutely fuming. Typical. That jerk Lu Jing just wants to block you from getting any spotlight. But Ran Fang sits nearby, calmly looking at the facts. If he just wanted to keep you hidden, he could have told you to stay home. Why force you to move heavy gear backstage? Wang Che is totally confused. What is so special about being backstage? Ran Fang hits the nail on the head. The backstage area is a total blind spot with zero security. If some setup accident happens on camera, how do you prove your innocence? The dorm room goes dead silent. Du Zhang turns completely pale. So you think Lu Jing is going to set a trap backstage? Suddenly, a cold light flashes in Chingming's eyes. If they are setting a trap for me, then this is my perfect opportunity. He stands up calmly and quickly hands out the tasks. Du Zhang, bring your phone to the big gala tomorrow. Keep recording the entire time. Wang Che, you need to sit in the 3rd row on the left. Keep your eyes on the backstage entrance and record everyone coming or going. Ran Fang, hit up your uncle at the local newspaper. Tell him to send a reporter for a routine interview tomorrow. The guys watch in awe as Chingming smoothly sets up his play. Du Zhang is shocked. Chingming, are you planning to completely destroy Lu Jing tomorrow night? Chingming just looks silently out at the night sky. His voice is quiet but absolutely dripping with cold fury. No, the mistakes he is making right now are still too small. A slow smirk creeps onto his face, but after tomorrow, he's done. At 11 p.m., the running track is completely deserted. Chingming finishes his solo 5-kilometer run and stands by the track, breathing just a little bit hard. Clear moonlight shines down on his sharp profile. Suddenly, a gentle voice echoes from the quiet stands. Do you always run this late? Chingming whips his head around. Up in the very front row sits a girl with long, beautiful hair shining under the hazy moon. Hearing that familiar voice, he recognizes her right away. His eyes flicker with surprise as he softly calls out her name, Bachu. She steps down from the cold stands, wearing nothing but a thin white jacket over her shoulders. With no makeup on, she looks stunning under the soft moonlight. Chingming is genuinely surprised. What are you even doing out here? Couldn't sleep, so I just went for a stroll. I didn't expect to run into you either. They stand on the track, 2 meters apart. Check this out, she actually takes the first step. Under the moonlight, she softly says about last time, I owe you an apology. Chingming is slightly caught off guard. Bachu avoids his eyes, keeping her gaze locked on the dark school buildings in the distance. Back in the garden, I was wrong to say you were chasing clout. I was just being way too judgmental. She has completely dropped her sharp defenses, showing a rare, gentle side. Chingming silently stares at her beautiful profile. He replies calmly that it is fine because he understands. Bachu turns back instantly. You understand what exactly? Chingming's voice is gentle, but his words cut straight to the core. I understand why you think that way, since you grew up always being the center of attention. So when someone else gets noticed, your first instinct is to assume they are just pulling a cheap stunt. Bachu opens her mouth to argue, but the words just won't come because Chingming's analysis is completely spot on. Then Chingming shifts the topic. But you forgot about one major possibility. Some people end up in the spotlight not because they want to, but because they have zero choice. Bachu goes dead silent, her voice light as a breeze. You don't like being noticed? Not at all. Chingming answers honestly. Being noticed just means you get scrutinized by everyone, and constant scrutiny means absolutely zero privacy. I just want to go to my classes, write my code in peace, and hang out with my roommates. No secret photos, no gossip, nothing. That is it. The soft moonlight reflects quietly in his eyes. His amber eyes are incredibly clear, with no fake acting. In this moment, Bachu feels like her old prejudice was absolutely ridiculous. He wasn't acting at all, he was just born with a face that makes it impossible to be ordinary. This sudden contrast makes her heart skip a beat. She whispers that she can't help him much, but she won't misunderstand him again. Chingming looks at her and offers a genuine thank you. Since it is getting late, he offers to walk her back, making Bachu's heart race. Her brain tells her to refuse, but her mouth uncontrollably whispers, okay. They walk side by side under the moon, their shadows brushing against each other. She can feel the gentle heat radiating from his skin. Soon, they arrive right outside her dorm building. Standing face to face, their shadows overlap perfectly under the glowing street lamp. Bachu turns and takes 2 steps, but suddenly stops without looking back. Chingming, are you going to the gala tomorrow? Her voice is so soft it is almost lost in the wind, because if you are, I will be there too. She quickly vanishes into the hallway, leaving Chingming standing there in total silence. Oh, you are not ready for this. He reaches into his pocket, feeling the note Bachu wrote him in math class today, and it only has 2 words. He whispered his thanks as his fingers tightened, crushing the small note inside his palm. Then he turned and walked toward the men's dorm. Moonlight stretched out like a quiet silver path behind him, and just like that, Friday finally arrived. The freshman gala began right on schedule. The gym only held 3,000, but somehow over 4,500 people squeezed inside. Every aisle, step, and even the second-floor railings were completely packed. Even the security guards couldn't do a thing about it. Right now, Du Zitang was desperately pushing through the massive crowd to find a seat. Meanwhile, Wang Qi sat quietly in the 3rd row on the left, keeping his eyes locked onto the backstage entrance. Ran Fang sat right behind the VIP guest section, accompanied by a glasses-wearing reporter from the Jiangchang Daily. And backstage, Chingming had his hoodie pulled up, leaning against the wall with a blank look because of Lu Jing's deliberate sabotage. He was put on equipment duty, forced to handle the absolute dirtiest and most exhausting grunt work. But wait, if you look closely, Chingming actually notices 3 suspicious details. First, 2 shady-looking strangers suddenly appeared by the backstage entrance. Then, a temporary dressing room popped up out of nowhere at the end of the hall. To make it weirder, Lu Jing was walking around in a sharp suit. He strutted in arrogantly with 2 assistants behind him. Their eyes suddenly met, locking together for a tense second. A smug smirk played on Lu Jing's lips, but Chingming didn't flinch. He laughed inside, knowing the target had finally taken the bait. At 7 p.m., the gala officially kicked off, and the stage performances brought one massive high after another. Down below, Du Zitang quietly used the phone in his chest pocket to secretly record the entire thing. But halfway through the show, the host suddenly announced a surprise segment for an unscheduled freshman talent showcase. Thousands of student names began flashing frantically across the giant screen. The tension in the arena immediately spiked as the scrolling names slowed down before coming to a grinding halt. 2 massive characters flashed on the screen, throwing the entire hall into a dead, heavy silence. Then, a sudden wave of screams erupted, nearly blowing the roof off the gym. While everyone cheered wildly, Du Zitang's face went completely pale. This was definitely not a random drawing. He instinctively looked toward the side of the stage, spotting Lu Jing standing there with crossed arms, staring back. It looked like a smug cat had just cornered a rat. Something was horribly wrong. This was a total trap. Du Zitang clenched his fist tight. Nearby, Wang Qi also sensed the danger and immediately fired off a quick message. Warning that Lu Jing was smiling at the side of the stage, Du Zitang grit his teeth. He knew this was on purpose, but now over 4,500 eyes were locked onto Chingming. If he didn't step up, everyone would think he had stage fright. But if he did, he had zero acts prepared. Lu Jing was betting on him completely ruining his own reputation. He wanted him completely humiliated. Just as Du Zitang was sweating bullets from anxiety, his phone suddenly buzzed in his hand. It was a short message from Chingming, containing only two simple words, "I am fine." Backstage, Chingming calmly read the panicked messages sent by Du Zitang. Honestly, he had long expected Lu Jing to pull something. This sudden random drawing was clearly designed to drag him into the spotlight just to embarrass him. Chingming casually pocketed his phone. Right then, a staff member rushed over, telling him to hurry up and follow them over to the wings. He nodded and followed them toward the stage. But as he passed by the wings, Lu Jing stepped up with a highly fake smile. Asking Chingming what he was going to perform with such crazy luck, Lu Jing only got a quiet, cold glance back. With a single word, secret, Chingming made Lu Jing's smug smile freeze instantly, especially since there was absolutely no panic in his eyes. Instead, his gaze held a steady calmness that sent shivers down his spine. It felt as if everything was playing out exactly as Chingming planned, and Lu Jing's fake smile completely vanished. A wave of deep unease surged in his chest. Get ready, because a second later, the stage lights cut out, silencing the entire hall. Suddenly, a lone spotlight cut through the darkness. A tall figure slowly walked out from the wings, standing dead center in the beam. It was Chingming. He had ditched the old hoodie, wearing only a clean white shirt with his top two buttons left undone. With sleeves rolled up, he revealed a sharp, powerful collarbone, leaving his incredible face completely clear for everyone to see. Under the 3,000-watt light, his visual was so intense it stunned all 4,500 people. After those initial wild screams, a stunned, deathly silence took over. Then, right before everyone's shocked eyes, Chingming walked straight over to the grand piano and sat down. He was actually going to play, leaving Du Zitang and Wang Qi completely speechless. Nobody ever suspected Chingming possessed this kind of mind-blowing talent, and his rival, Lu Jing, is already turning pale with absolute rage. He never imagined in a million years that Chingming would sit before the piano with such cool composure. Right then, Chingming's fingers lightly touched the keys as he slowly closed his eyes. 4,500 people held their breath. 2 seconds later, the first note rang out like a thunderclap, sending the entire crowd into a deep trance. He was playing La Campanella, a legendary piece notorious in the piano world for its sheer technical difficulty. Look at this, he was doing it with his eyes closed the entire time while the music shifted from slow to frantic. His fingers danced across the keys, moving so fast they became a total blur, yet every single note was incredibly precise. Not a single note was out of place, and this definitely was not just some boring, mechanical performance. It was a soulful outpouring of emotion under the spotlight. With his closed eyes, white shirt, and long, slender fingers, the entire scene looked way too beautiful to be real. Below the stage, his roommate Du Zitang was left completely dazed. The hand holding his phone would not stop shaking. He knew Chingming was handsome and a genius coder, but he never expected this level of grace at the piano. This was not just a performance, it was a confession. He was playing everything he could never say out loud, a lonely, longing, stubborn melody carrying a trace of faint tenderness. Even Du Shang, a tough guy who knew absolutely nothing about music, felt his eyes sting instantly. He tried desperately to hold it back, but when he turned his head, he realized he was not alone. The girl to his left was crying. The guy to his right had bloodshot eyes, while a burly sports major in the front row tilted his head back, trying desperately to keep his tears from falling. All 4,500 people in the gym wept in silence. Right then, the piece entered its most insanely fast section. The difficulty reached its absolute limit, yet Chingming kept his eyes closed, looking as natural as if he were just breathing. But in the VIP guest seats, a newspaper reporter did not look emotional at all, but of pure, unadulterated shock because he majored in music. He could hear it. Chingming was not just playing Liszt's original La Campanella, and here is the kicker, he modified the original masterpiece, leaving the reporter completely stunned. Chingming did not just add improvisational flourishes, his phrasing was even richer than the original. The tempo of the final section was 15% faster, meaning this 18-year-old freshman actually had the ability to perform Liszt's most difficult piece, while improvising on the fly, a feat extremely rare even among professional pianists. The reporter knew he had tonight's headline. Then, the final note fell, and the echoes slowly faded away. Chingming opened his eyes and stood to face the crowd, but all 4,500 people remained in a deathly silence, frozen under his spell. 2 seconds later, a single crisp clap rang out, drawing everyone's eyes toward the sound. It was The School Beauty by Chu Shou. Her eyes were red with tears staining her cheeks, yet she clapped with all her might. The next second, applause surged like a massive tsunami as all 4,500 people stood up, cheering for 3 full minutes. The very dome of the gymnasium seemed to vibrate, but on stage, Chingming only gave a slight, humble bow. But in that exact moment, the whole world was watching him. As Chingming walked toward the side of the stage, the student council president, Lu Jing, had a face as pale as paper. He had set a perfect trap, desperate to make Chingming look like a total fool in front of thousands. Instead, his malicious trap had personally delivered Chingming straight to the altar. It had turned into Chingming's personal ascension to godhood. Just then, Chingming passed right by him. He stopped but did not say a single word, giving him a calm look, the kind of look one gives a total stranger. Lu Jing's body instantly began to shake with rage as his grip turned his knuckles white. Chingming, he thought, this is not over. But Chingming had only walked a few steps before his red-eyed roommate, Du Ziteng, stopped him, asking when he had learned to play the piano. "Since I was a kid," he replied. When asked why he never said anything, Chingming flatly said, "You never asked." Du Shang nearly exploded on the spot, demanding to know what else he had not asked, like if he played violin or painted. "Do you speak 7 languages? Can you fly a plane?" Chingming thought for a moment before replying simply, "I cannot fly a plane." Du Ziteng lost it instantly. "So you can do everything else?" Chingming did not deny it. He just took out his earphones, put them in, and remarked that the dorm was too noisy before leaving through the fire exit. But as soon as he stepped outside, a figure was waiting at the exit. It was Xiao Yuqing, holding a cup of hot coffee in her hands. She smiled, saying she figured he would exit this way. Startled, Chingming asked why she was here, and she replied, "To bring you coffee." She passes him a paper cup explaining it is sugar-free since she figured he hates sweets. Chingming is genuinely shocked she actually knew his secret about sweets. Xiao Yuing just laughs. She mentions noticing he never ordered dessert back at the cafeteria. Chingming stays quiet for a moment. "Thanks, senior," he says. She tilts her head. "Stop that. Just call me Yua Qing." She studied piano for 2 years and felt his performance was actually speaking to her. He freezes. His fingers tighten on the cup. Honestly, she is the first to ever say that. Xiao Yuing's voice softens, telling him she was listening to his soul. Hearing those words makes Chingming feel the entire performance was truly worth it. He thanks her softly, making her smile grow. She offers to walk him back, since he is now a major school celebrity. She says it is safer if she guides him. Meanwhile, the mood inside the gym has completely transformed. Everyone in the gym buzzes about Chingming as performance clips flood the web. They all share one tag, the Jiangshang University Piano God. The hashtag quickly climbs to trending spot 89. 1 hour later, it hits the top. Total madness. The forums explode with a pinned post. Writing as someone who studied piano for 15 years, I can confidently say Chingming's skill level matches a professional concert pianist. And he is only 18. The guy is a pure genius. But while the whole internet celebrates, another post quietly climbs straight into the top 3. It raises some highly suspicious questions regarding the random drawing segment from tonight's big show. The poster drops 3 direct questions that hit the bullseye. First, was this freshman showcase ever on the original schedule? Second, why was Chingming the one randomly selected? Third, who actually has the power to change things last minute? Comments explode instantly. Everyone agrees that segment was never on the schedule. A staff student confirmed it was added yesterday at the absolute last minute, and the only one who can change the program is the student council president, Lu Jing. Why would he push Chingming on stage? Just think about it. What if Chingming actually could not play piano? An unprepared freshman thrown before thousands of people. Totally humiliated. That was the plan. Suddenly, the dots connect. Lu Jing failed to win over Chuo, and Chingming took his place as the campus heartthrob. The incident during military training, the fake rules, the heavy desks, and now this setup. One particular comment gets a massive wave of likes. Lu Jing tried to crush Chingming, but Chingming played La Campanella and moved everyone to tears. Talk about shooting yourself in the foot. Over 8,000 likes. Meanwhile, inside the gym office, Lu Jing is glaring at his screen. Every single comment feels like a sharp needle to his heart. He miscalculated. Completely. He literally created Chingming's absolute peak moment of glory. Furious, he dials a number to issue a low, dangerous order. Find out if Chingming has a girlfriend, or what is really happening between him and Bushu. He hangs up. Cold eyes. He leans back in his chair like a block of ice. Chingming, you might have won tonight, but I am never letting you beat me again. That 4-minute clip instantly clears 960,000 comments. People admit to crying every time they watch it. Can you even believe this? Playing La Campanella with his eyes closed, looking like a literal model. His stats are basically hacked. The massive viral hit stays trending at #1 for 4 hours straight. Total views easily cross 500 million. Even a major state news channel reposted it, calling him a radiant youth. That single post gets over 500,000 shares. Even a legendary pianist publishes a long article praising him. Flawless execution, incredible maturity. Those minor improvisations showed pure mastery. If he goes professional, he will become a superstar. With over 200,000 shares, the comment section completely shifts tone. Wait, he is not even a music student. He is a computer science major, a programmer playing like that. God literally hand-delivered his talent. Now, the entertainment world is losing its mind. Top talent agencies offer partnerships while show directors literally beg him to mentor. A famous movie director publicly claims that with his stunning face and aura, he was born for the big screen. Most shockingly of all, a massive luxury brand quietly follows the topic and leaves a like. They clearly want him as their spokesperson. Yet, our freshman star is just chilling quietly inside room 304. While Chingming was already sleeping like a baby, completely unbothered, his 3 roommates couldn't even close their eyes. Chingming, you are literally trending at #1, and the news reposted you. Even the national media commented, and Du Xiang gasped as he scrolled through the forum video with 50 million views. And it is still rising. Wang muttered from the top bunk, realizing his roommate had just become a superstar. Meanwhile, Ran Fang was staring at a completely different post, a sneaky smirk playing on his lips. It was an anonymous post targeting Lu Jing, and Ran Fang whispered that they did not post it, leaving Du Xiang totally shocked and confused. Whoever uploaded this knows the schedule perfectly, hitting Lu Jing exactly where it hurts, Ran Fang analyzed. This has to be an insider from the student council or someone close to him, Du Xiang realized with a jolt. It looks like we have an ally, but Ran Fang just stared at the sleeping Chingming, unconvinced. Or maybe someone has just been waiting forever for Lu Jing to mess up, which made complete sense to Du Xiang. He makes enemies everywhere, but this post is performing better than we ever expected. And honestly, you and I both know that Lu Jing's reputation is ruined, but Ran Fang knew this wasn't enough. Sure, he is trending, but without real proof. It is all just online rumors. Ran Fang analyzed calmly. If he simply issues a quick statement, he gets away scotangent-free, which made Du Xiang's face drop instantly in worry. Ran Fang rolled over, recalling Chingming's warning to wait for a massive emotional slip-up. How can you be so certain? Well, because tonight, he did not just lose his reputation. He lost Bai Chu, Ran Fang whispered. Didn't you see her? She was the very first person to stand up and clap for Chingming. Lu Jing pursued her for over 6 months, and she wouldn't even spare him a single glance. Yet tonight, she literally cried for Chingming, which completely broke Lu Jing. Remembering Bai Chu's teary eyes full of raw emotion, Ran Fang muttered that if he were Lu Jing, he would be completely losing it. At 9 a.m. the next morning, Chingming woke up naturally, stretched, and enjoyed the beautiful bright sun. But Du Xiang was just staring at him with a wild, complicated look, asking if he knew what he had done. I just played some piano, Chingming shrugged, leaving a speechless Du Xiang to hand over his phone. 800 million video views, but Chingming barely glanced at it, while Ran Fang and Du Xiang took a massive, synchronized breath. Swiping to the next page, Du Xiang showed him that his fan club already has 1.7 million followers. Du Xiang showed him a stunning profile shot of him playing piano. There is more. 6 massive talent agencies want to sign you, and 2 contacted our university directly. An international brand wants you for an ad. Chingming listened to all of this and paused for 3 seconds. He threw off the covers, asked what was for breakfast, leaving Du Xiang frozen. Staring as Chingming headed to the bathroom, he turned to Wang, asking if the guy even understood a single word. Wang hit the nail on the head, saying Chingming understands. He just does not care about millions of views or fans, or even international deals, leaving Du Xiang completely and utterly baffled. Ran Fang calmly explained that those details simply do not matter to him, because he only cares about a peaceful breakfast. But get this, that wish became an instant luxury when a massive crowd blocked their dorm exit. Hundreds of screaming students stood there, holding up phones and banners. One guy even held a sign begging Chingming to marry him, prompting the completely expressionless star to turn around instantly. Slipping out the back exit, they took a massive detour to the cafeteria, but the second they walked in, absolute silence fell. Then, the room erupted with screams identifying Chingming. He immediately spun to leave, but Du Xiang held on to him, insisting he eat, so they grabbed quick takeout from the window. Running all the way back, Chingming sat quietly on his bed eating a bun, watching the growing crowd outside. Setting the bun down, he texted his grandfather, simply asking for a day off. The old man instantly replied asking what was wrong, and Chingming texted back that he just wanted some peace. Go 3 kilometers outside the north gate to a quiet tea house called Tingfang Residence, owned by a man named Li. He is one of mine. Nobody will bother you, making Chingming smile faintly. That old grandpa promised an ordinary life but never truly allowed it. Chingming thought, throwing on a cap, mask, and glasses to fully disguise himself. He slipped out through the fire exit as the entire campus buzzed with rumors about him. Keeping his head low, he passed by unrecognized, but once he reached the north gate, he stopped to look back. A month ago, he dragged a beat-up suitcase here, just wanting normal student life. And honestly, you would not believe how fast he became an absolute viral sensation before walking away. The Tingfang residence was hidden deep inside an old street, looking completely ordinary until you stepped through the doors. Traditional decor and wooden tables filled the room, smelling richly of fresh tea. The place was so peaceful you could only hear the chirping birds and flowing bamboo fountains. A smiling man in his 50s put down his clay teapot and walked over. Uncle Lu greeted him warmly, calling him young master as Chingming finally took off his sunglasses and face mask. Chingming explained that his grandfather sent him, and Uncle Lu nodded, saying he already had orders and prepared his childhood favorite. Lapsang Souchong tea was served, and Chingming quietly stared out at the bamboo. Feeling a bit puzzled, Chingming asked if he had been here as a kid. Uncle Lu paused, then smiled warmly. He explained that Chingming's dad brought him here at age 2, calling this place his secret base. His smile filled with pure nostalgia. Uncle Lu whispered that his father was a great man, amber tea reflecting in Chingming's eyes. Taking a bittersweet sip, Chingming suddenly asked what kind of person his father really was. Uncle Lu stared back with a strange, unreadable emotion in his eyes, slowly replying that his father was just like him. He was just as handsome, just as smart, and just as much of a loner, but with one major difference. When Chingming asked what, Lu smiled, saying his father never ran from a fight. If anyone gossiped, his dad would confront them directly and dare them to say it again. Uncle Lu recalled with a sip. Your grandfather thinks you two are identical, but I see something he lacked. When Chingming asked what, the answer was patience. Uncle Lu's hand froze as the tea house went silent. His father was too impatient. But Chingming knows how to wait, staring down at his blurry reflection in the tea. He asked how his father died. Uncle Lu's hand shook as he muttered that he must wait to ask his grandfather. Let the old man explain it, so Chingming did not push any further. Leaning back with his eyes closed, a warm memory from when he was only 7 flashed in his mind. A father's large hand gently guiding his tiny fingers. He was teaching him his very first piano note, saying that you do not play music with your hands, but with your heart. When he asked what that meant, his dad said it was about putting your feelings into the notes. A soft breeze blew through the window with the scent of fresh bamboo. It really felt like an unfinished story. But get this, that peaceful weekend did not even last 2 days. What started as simple curiosity had exploded into a total chaotic frenzy. Walking down the street, phones popped up every 10 steps. In the cafeteria, a 5-meter empty zone formed around him automatically. Classrooms were completely packed, forcing his bodyguard Du Jiang to upgrade to a full-time manager. Du Jiang even posted a sign stating that Chingming was not accepting any invitations right now. No confessions, no proposals, and absolutely no contact info. A photo of the sign got 8,000 likes online instantly, but Chingming remained totally expressionless through the madness. It was not that he was cold-hearted. He was just incredibly used to the attention. Back in his small village, dozens watched him daily. Now it was tens of thousands. To him, it felt exactly the same. By Monday lunch, Chingming finally ditched his hat and mask because Du Jiang pointed out he was already the top trending topic anyway. Hiding was pointless, which actually made perfect sense. Walking just 30 meters to get food took him 7 whole minutes, with students begging him for photos along the way. Some asked for piano lessons, while another handed him a massive 37-page love letter. He declined most of them politely, though he did take the letter from a crying girl. By the time he sat down, his food was ice cold. Sitting opposite him with a complicated look, Du Jiang asked if he seriously needed a professional manager. Chingming quietly said no, but before Du Jiang could mention some manager named Wang, a loud commotion broke out near the entrance. The guy walking in was Lu Jing, looking extremely sharp in a black suit. He had 3 student council members trailing him as usual, but his entire vibe was completely different. Ever since the gala, rumors of him being the mastermind were spreading like absolute wildfire. Respect from his peers quickly morphed into deep suspicion, but Lu Jing still kept his public image flawless. He strolled into the cafeteria with a bright smile, scanning the room before quickly spotting Chingming in the corner. His eyes shifted, locking onto his next target. Just 10 meters away, Bai Chushu and Lu Ruian were sitting by the window. Lu Jing smirked, carrying his tray as he walked straight toward Bai Chushu. Bai Chushu looked up, her expression cold as she asked what he thought of Friday's gala. Lu Jing sat down, studying her reaction. He noted she seemed to really enjoy that piano performance, making her spoon pause for a second. It was a tiny slip, but his smirk widened as he admitted that Chingming guy was decent. He claimed the guy was just self-taught without proper training, spouting pure nonsense to trash his skills. A famous pianist had actually praised Chingming online, but Lu Jing chose to lie directly to Bai Chushu. Bai Chushu frowned, asking what he meant, but Lu Jing claimed it was nothing. He smiled, adding that when someone is put on a pedestal, they have a long way to fall. Once the hype dies, he is just an ordinary freshman. Looking serious, he told her she deserved better, making Bai Chushu put down her spoon. She stayed silent for 3 seconds before asking him clearly what exactly he meant by better. She declared she could judge for herself, instantly freezing the fake smile right off Lu Jing's face. The whole vibe turned ice cold. But get this, a sudden crash and a loud scream echoed from the kitchen. A panicked cafeteria worker rushed out, shouting for people to watch out for the boiling hot soup. The boiling liquid splashed violently as the worker stumbled right toward Bai Chushu. Everything went down in just 2 seconds. The worker lost her balance, sending the entire pot of boiling soup flying straight at Bai Chushu. Lu Ruian screamed in terror as Bai Chushu turned, her mind going blank at the sight of the liquid. Lu Jing saw it too, but his body only twitched. In that split second, his instinct was not to save her. Instead, he took a step back to save himself. But as he retreated, a fast shadow suddenly lunged forward. Moving like an absolute blur, Chingming crossed those 10 meters in under a second, suddenly appearing right in front of Bai Chushu. He wrapped his left arm around her waist, pulling her tightly into his chest. With his other hand, he grabbed a metal tray from the table, raising it up to block the incoming wave. The hot soup slammed against the tray with a loud sizzle, but a few scalding drops hit the back of his hand. His face twitched in pain, but he kept his grip tight as the entire cafeteria fell dead silent. Bai Chushu remained locked in his arms, her face buried deep against his chest. She could hear his heart thumping rapidly, thump, thump, thump. Her mind was a total blank, but her body felt a familiar, deeply comforting sense of absolute security. It was the same scent from that night on the field. He asked if she was okay. His deep, tense voice came from above. Bai Chushu slowly looked up and met his amber eyes. They were inches apart, filled with genuine concern for her. Her heart skipped a major beat as she whispered that she was fine. Chingming let out a sigh of relief before looking down. 3 nasty red burns had already formed on his hand, starting to blister. Bai Chushu's eyes welled up. She asked about his hand, but he dismissed it as a scratch. Chingming quickly hid his hand, asking if she got burned, but she realized he blocked everything for her. Her voice trailed off as she realized she was still in his arms, his hand wrapped firmly around her waist. They were so close they could feel each other's breath, with hundreds of students staring at them in stunned silence. A boy holding a girl, shielding her with his soup-stained tray while his own hand burned. This was a legendary hero moment right here. Meanwhile, Du Zhang stood outside the dining area, watching them in shock. The food fell right out of his hand, his eyes burning as Bai Chushu suddenly pulled away from Chingming. Her face was completely flushed red, but her gaze remained locked onto his injured right hand. She demanded they get his hand treated at the clinic, her sharp tone leaving absolutely no room for any argument. She seemed like a completely different person, insisting on going with him as Chingming stared back. Seeing her teary eyes, Chingming quietly agreed, and they both walked out of the cafeteria together. After they left, the entire hall remained completely silent for about 3 more seconds. Then the place absolutely erupted with people screaming about how he just blocked hot soup with a tray. Was that reaction speed even human? Duji's voice was raspy as he noted how the guy literally got himself burned just to protect Baichu. I saw it too. He picked up his bun, staring toward the doorway as their shapes vanished into the bright afternoon sun. They were moving quickly, but their shadows stretched out side by side. Taking a deep breath, he suddenly looked off in another direction. There stood Lu Jing. He was completely frozen. His face had gone pale, lips tightly pressed together, with his right foot still awkwardly caught mid-step. Everyone witnessed that split second of danger. Chingming charged forward while Lu Jing shrank back. One shielded her with his own body while the other cowered. Honestly, the contrast was absolutely brutal to watch. Right away, Lu Jing felt the heavy, mocking stares of everyone around him. Clenching his fists, his nails dug deep into his palms. But there was nothing he could do. He did not even have the right to stand beside Baichu. When it mattered most, he ran away while the guy he despised risked everything. Gritting his teeth, Lu Jing spun around and walked off. He slammed the exit door so hard the glass nearly shattered, leaving a loud bang echoing through the entire cafeteria. Du Jitang watched him leave, thinking only 2 words serves you right. Meanwhile, at the clinic, the on-duty doctor was busy scrolling through last night's trending piano video. But when he looked up and saw Chingming, his phone slipped and dropped straight onto the desk. "Doctor, it is a burn," Chingming managed to say, holding up his injured right hand. It took the doctor a solid 10 seconds to snap out of his daze. Then he noticed the 3 painful blisters forming on Chingming's hand. Snapping into professional mode, the doctor declared it a second-degree burn and ordered him to sit. Baichu stood close by his side. She had not said a single word since they left the cafeteria, her quiet gaze full of worry. Xiao Yi stared intently at his hand, applying the iodine. The cold cotton swab brushed his open wound. Chiming's fingers twitched sharply. His face stayed completely calm, but Baichu caught the tiny hitch in his breath for a split second. She whispered, "Does it hurt?" "It does not," but she knew he was lying. Baichu bit her lip. Before he could react, she reached out and tightly squeezed Chingming's uninjured left hand. Chingming froze and stared at her. She refused to meet his eyes, keeping her gaze locked on his bandaged hand instead. "Does this help at all?" she muttered. "When I was small and had to get shots, my mom would always hold my hand. She explained that if you distract yourself, it won't hurt as much." Chingming just quietly stared down at her. 3 seconds later, he gently squeezed back, saying it helped a lot. Watching them, Xiao Yi felt completely dazed by the moment. Her hands slowed down. She felt like a total third wheel. Once the dressing was finished, Bai Shu finally realized she was still holding on tight. Blushing furiously all the way to her neck, she quickly pulled away and stammered out a soft thank you. "Your hand is so cold," he smiled. "It definitely worked as a distraction." Bai Chu froze, hiding her face behind her long hair. "You are welcome," she whispered. Soon, they both stepped back out into the hallway. They walked much closer now. Chingming gently asked why she had rushed over like that. "I did not even think," she replied. "My body just moved." He paused, then asked if she would have done the exact same thing if it were someone else instead of him. Chingming fell silent, then admitted he would have. Bai Chu's steps faltered for a beat, and her mood visibly seemed to sink. He felt the sudden shift, though he did not really understand why, knowing he needed to say something more to her. But what could he say? Tucking his bandaged hand deep into his pocket, he stared toward the very end of the empty corridor. As sunlight caught his eyelashes, he softly added that if it were her, he would have been even faster. Bai Chu stopped dead in her tracks. He walked a few more paces before noticing she was gone, turning back to find her. She stood right there in the middle of the hallway, completely bathed in golden sunlight. Her eyes were glowing with emotion. Then, the corners of her lips slowly curved upward. For the very first time, Chingming saw her smile genuinely from the bottom of her heart. This was not a polite smile, nor a cold or arrogant one. It was pure, unfiltered happiness. Her brilliant smile made even the bright sunlight look dim. "Let us go," she said, her voice filled with a brand new tenderness. "We still have class this afternoon." She caught up to him, her steps light and her hair bouncing behind her. Chingming quickly followed. Together they walked side by side in the warm light, their shadows finally aligning perfectly on the floor. But they had no idea that someone was lurking just around the corner at the far end of the hall. It was Chen Shu, clutching a stack of papers. She saw them leave the clinic. She saw that radiant, beautiful smile on Beichu's face. That undeniable warmth practically radiated between them. Chen Shu's grip tightened, completely crushing the papers in her hand. Her face remained a mask of a cold ice queen, but her white fingertips betrayed her rage. She watched them for 3 seconds, then spun around and left. Her high heels made a sharp, panicked sound. Click, 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 click. Back in her office, she shut the door and leaned against it, closing her eyes. Reminding herself, he is just an 18-year-old student. No use crying, she told herself. Yet, looking in the mirror, she could not hide her heavy sadness. Meanwhile, the cafeteria drama is completely blowing up online. Posts are viral about Chingming sprinting 10 meters, using a tray as a shield, and getting burned. Over 5,000 likes already, but another post cut deeper. Total chaos online. When danger struck, who charged in and who ran, everyone knew exactly who took that cowardly step back, and they are not holding back. One protected someone with his own body while the other chickened out. The difference is night and day. Lu Jing's flawless reputation is officially ruined, but Chingming instinctively rushed right into danger. It proves that in his heart, keeping others safe matters more than his own life. Now that is a guy who deserves real love. That single comment pulled in over 8,000 likes, but get this, another post is spreading even faster. A trending post showing Bachu holding Chingming's hand in the clinic makes the entire comment section explode instantly. Are they together? Match made in heaven. The beautiful campus belle made the first move, head over heels. This is proof she is falling. And yes, Lu Jing saw every single bit of it from his dark room. The harsh light from his screen shines over his pale face as he reads those agonizing comments about retreating while Chingming is hailed as a hero. Bachu holding Chingming's hand is like a dagger straight to his pride. For 20 years, Lu Jing has always been at the very top. Elite family, perfect grades, insanely popular. He was used to looking down on everyone, used to being praised and obsessed with winning. But since Chingming arrived, his perfect life is falling apart piece by piece. A literal genius. Chingming is 100 times more handsome, can fight, play piano, and code flawlessly. Even Bachu, whom he chased so hard, won't even look at his face. Yet, she cried over Chingming, held his hand, and smiled so warmly, making Lu Jing realize he lost even in terms of basic courage. When that pot of scalding soup flew through the air, Chingming fearlessly threw himself forward to protect her, while Lu Jing chose to take a step back. A nail of shame. That retreat is driven deep. Lu Jing's fingers squeeze his phone with absolute fury. A tiny crack spiders across the screen. Chingming. He spits the name through tightly gritted teeth. His voice is freezing cold as he picks up the phone and dials a secret number. He mutters to do something for him. After a brief silence, the voice asks what? Get me dirt on Chingming, fake grades, anything. Cheating on exams, scandals in his private life, anything goes. The caller warns Lu Jing to calm down, but he says he is calm. His freezing voice is calm. Since he is perfect, let us make him look imperfect. You do not need real evidence, just fake it. An even longer pause follows as the voice warns the risk is too high. If they get caught, it is over. But Lu Jing coldly cuts him off, hangs up the call, and leans back to stare blankly at his ceiling. No, turning back. In the dark room, his mouth twists as he swears. Chingming forced his hand. Meanwhile, in dorm 304, Chingming is typing rapidly with his left hand while his bandaged right arm rests on his knee. Du Xiang watches him in absolute shock, asking why he cannot just rest since his hand is so severely burned. Chingming replies he does not need his right hand anyway, while Wang leans down from his bunk warning him that the school forum is absolutely exploding. The viral post about you and Bachu has everyone shipping you. Chingming simply replies to shut up and eat. Without looking up, Chingming stays quiet, but their usually silent roommate Ran Fang finally speaks up. He asks if Chingming noticed Lu Jing's reaction today. Chingming pauses his typing, recalling how Lu Jing shrank back. Exactly, in front of the whole school. Ran Fang gets dead serious, warning him that when a guy loses face publicly and watches his crush cry over someone else, he snaps. His next move? What is he planning to do? Chingming stays silent for 3 seconds before whispering that Lu Jing will make mistakes, massive ones. Ran Fang asks if he is prepared. Spinning his chair around, Chingming looks completely calm, but his eyes are filled with absolute, unwavering confidence. It is the clear confidence of someone who has already seen the entire endgame, whispering that he was ready since day 1 before continuing to type. 1 month later, the autumn chill gets even colder. Chingming's life goes back to a normal routine, attending classes, writing code, and occasionally running into Bachu during his late-night runs. Du Xiang cannot help but tease him, asking if they are planning these track meetups or if it is really just a coincidence. Coincidence 5 times in a row? This track is not even that big. Ever since that cafeteria showdown, things got a little weird between Chingming and Bachu. They stopped acting like spiky hedgehogs, but neither was willing to make the first move. It was like they had reached some silent truce. Not too close, but not too cold either. Du Shitang eventually lost his mind and demanded to know what their deal actually was. Are they friends, a fling, or just weirdly entangled? Chingming simply smirked and gave a brief answer, just acquaintances. Acquaintances who run into each other 5 times every single night. Chingming stays silent. Fast forward to mid-October, and midterms hit. While his roommates are practically ripping their hair out over study guides, Chingming does not even open a book. You not worried about failing this? Nope. Du Shitang immediately shut up because he knew Chingming was basically a walking cheat code. Monday, advanced math only 35 minutes in, and he is the first to turn it in. Wednesday, programming class. He is first again in 28 minutes, then finishes computer science in only 22. Every single time he walked out early, the hallway erupted in shocked whispers. A week later, the official grades went up. The campus online forums were absolutely flooded with one question: is there anything this guy cannot do? Perfect scores of 150 across the board: advanced math, programming, and computer science. 3 perfect scores. First in the department, first in the entire school. But hold on, because here's where the real drama starts. At 3 p.m., a single text message completely shattered the peace. Chingming is ordered to report to room 302 in the office building. He has to go in at 4 p.m. for an exam investigation. Chingming frowns. This is not a chat, it is an investigation. Once Du Shitang reads the screen, his face completely drops. An investigation? For what? He got perfect scores, what is there to even look into? Right then, Ran Fang pushes up his glasses. His voice is calm but cuts straight to the point, first to finish all 3 tests and perfect scores on all of them. Cheating is the easiest accusation if someone wants to cause trouble. Du Shitang looks absolutely horrified. Who would report him for cheating? Though Ran Fang stays silent, I bet you already know exactly who did it. Chingming stands up and grabs his jacket, saying it is almost 4 and he will go check it out. Du Shitang leaps off his bed. He insists on tagging along, but Chingming's icy tone shuts him down. If it is a normal inquiry, he will just cooperate. If it is not, he zips up his jacket, his eyes suddenly freezing over with a dangerous chill. Then he definitely does not want any witnesses around. Soon after, inside room 302, Chingming pushes the door open. 3 people are already waiting for him. There is Vice Dean Liu representing computer science, alongside an officer from the academic affairs team. And sitting on the far right is the head of the department himself, the absolute legend, Professor Wang. Professor Wang almost never handles student drama, but here he is anyway. Once Chingming takes a seat, Vice Dean Liu gets straight to the point, explaining that the department received a very serious report regarding his midterm exams. He slides over a handwritten letter and a few printed screenshots right in front of the kid. Someone claims he cheated during the exams, and this is the proof they sent in. Chingming looks down and realizes it is just a fake chat log. The image shows him buying exam answers from some random gray account, 2,000 yuan for 3 classes. There is even a fake transaction receipt for 2,000 yuan, clearly showing his own username. Looking at this cheap setup, Chingming does not even blink. He just narrows his eyes, calmly staring them down. He asks Vice Dean Liu 3 questions, starting with whether this report is actually anonymous. After a brief pause, the dean admits it is anonymous. Chingming then asks if they even verified the technical side. They claim they are still just looking into it. Chingming cuts him off directly, his slow, deliberate voice instantly freezing the entire room. Tapping the fake screenshots, he asks Vice Dean Liu if he has ever stopped to consider one simple fact. Why would someone who can finish a computer science exam in 22 minutes with a perfect score actually spend 2,000 yuan to buy the answers? Instantly, the conference room goes dead silent. Vice Dean Liu struggles to open his mouth, completely unable to find any words. Right at that very moment, Professor Wang, who had been silent this entire time, actually lets out a tiny smirk. He looked like he was barely holding back a smirk. The air in the room suddenly turned incredibly tense. Vice Dean Liu cleared his throat. Outwardly, he claimed they had to follow standard procedure, but then suggested Chingming suspend all academic and evaluation activities. But here is the ruthless part: that investigation would take 2 to 3 weeks, completely blocking him from applying for the university scholarship. Proven innocent later or not, it really did not matter. His shot at that scholarship was already completely ruined. Chingming just stared back without an ounce of anger, but he burned this moment deep into his memory. He calmly agreed to cooperate with their probe, but in the very next breath, he made a demand they absolutely could not ignore. If proven innocent, he demanded the department issue a school-wide public clarification. Vice Dean Liu hesitated. A public statement like that was completely unprecedented. But right then, the silent Professor Wang finally spoke up. He did not just agree to Chingming's demand, he actually raised the stakes. Handing those screenshots over to the computer science department's security lab for a professional analysis was his next suggestion. Hearing this, Vice Dean Liu's face completely froze. Once the meeting finally ended, Chingming stood up to leave, but Professor Wang called him back. He called out, "Chingming, I looked over your C programming exam." Chingming turned back, only to see Professor Wang staring at him with deep meaning. He noted that the algorithm Chingming used on the final question was an optimization he had only seen once, 3 years ago. It was used by the champion of the Global Hacking Championship, codenamed Phantom. Suddenly, the air in the room completely froze. Chingming's pupils shrank in pure shock. Seeing that reaction, Professor Wang did not push further. He just smiled faintly. An accusation of cheating doesn't even need an investigation. Your exam answer is the absolute best evidence. Anyone who can write that level of algorithm has no reason to buy test answers. Chingming walked outside, took a deep breath, and immediately pulled out his phone. Out of 3 unread messages, one from Ran Fang jumped right out. They had found who sent that report. It was printed directly from the Student Union office printer at 11 p.m. last night. A slow smirk crept onto Chingming's face. The Student Union office at 11 p.m. Besides the president, who even has a key, who else could possibly get inside? He did not reply. Instead, he opened up a different app. His fingers flew across the screen for 30 seconds. In just 30 seconds, he effortlessly breached the student union's printer log system. Network printers always keep detailed logs for every single print job. They log the time, file name, page count, and even the IP address of the device sending the command. In an instant, the prey became the hunter. Chingming instantly pulled up the logs from 11 p.m. last night. 3 specific print jobs popped right up on his screen. 2307, report letter.docx. 2309, screenshot 1. 2311, screenshot 2. Every single file came from the exact same IP address, ending in 47. Chingming quickly traced the device name linked to that IP. It blatantly read LJ Lu Jing. He calmly snapped a screenshot and saved it, but he was not about to leak it yet. This was not enough. The print logs only proved he printed the letter, but exposing the fake screenshots would be the actual killing blow. If those screenshots were forged, that meant malicious framing. Enough to get Lu Jing expelled from school. Chingming wanted nothing less than absolute, ironclad proof. He called his teacher, asking for the contact info for the head of the computer science department's information security lab. On the other end, Uncle Chen sounded incredibly calm, mentioning Professor Xiao was his old doctoral advisor, and asked what was wrong. Chingming explained he needed him to do an image authentication. Uncle Chen fell silent for a moment, a sudden chill creeping into his voice. It was not aimed at Chingming, but at the whole setup. Those screenshots are fake, right? Chingming admitted he had not verified them yet, but logically, yes. Uncle Chen promised to arrange a meeting tomorrow afternoon. Before Chingming could even thank him, Uncle Chen's voice grew remarkably soft, telling him he did not need to prove his innocence. His exam paper was already the absolute best proof. It was the exact same thing Professor Wang had said. Then, Uncle Chen's tone turned completely ice-cold, demanding to know the second he found out who was playing these games. Those quiet words felt heavier and more terrifying than any loud threat. Hanging up, Chingming slid his phone back into his pocket. The storm was still gathering, but he already knew exactly where the lightning would strike. Sure enough, that very night, the rumors about Chingming cheating absolutely exploded across the school forum. Now, literally everyone knew. The school forum completely splits, with one side desperately spamming that Chingming is innocent. Does a guy with 3 perfect scores really need to buy answers or cheat in 22 minutes? But the other side quietly drops damning evidence, spamming shady screenshots and transfer records. Could he actually be guilty? Weirdly enough, Duji Tang notices that the likes under these hate posts all come from accounts freshly made that very day. Someone was deploying a massive bot army. The smear campaign is officially on, led by Lu Jing. Du Xiang exchanges a cold glance with Wang Che, and just look at this. By the next day, the entire campus vibe completely flips. Wherever Chingming goes, all that past admiration suddenly turns into nasty whispers and pointing fingers. That is Chingming, right? Word is he cheated on those tests. The receipts are already out. Chingming walks right past them expressionlessly, but Du Xiang is behind him, clenching his fists in rage. Just ignore them, Chingming says calmly. Real evidence will do all the talking. During morning math class, Chingming sits in the very last row while Chushua is just 1 row ahead, but the air between them feels absolutely freezing. The second Chushua enters the room, she feels everyone staring back and forth between her and Chingming. Everyone wants to see her reaction since their relationship has been tense since that cafeteria incident. With Chingming in deep trouble, how will she react while the entire campus gossips about his cheating scandal? Ruyam whispers to ask what she thinks, but Chushua remains completely blank and spits out one word. Fake, she says, adding that she does not need evidence because she simply knows him. Her voice is as certain as saying 1 + 1 = 2, and as class ends, she stuns everyone. She abruptly stands up, marches straight to the very back row, and stops right in front of Chingming. Over 100 pairs of classroom eyes lock onto them in absolute silence. She tells him that people are reporting him for cheating on his exams, staring at him for 3 seconds before speaking again. Her voice is not loud, but it is clear enough for everyone to hear. She states he did not cheat because when he corrected her math homework, he spotted her formula error instantly. A genius who spots mistakes with a single glance does not need to buy answers, she says, a rare gentle smile forming on her lips. Plus, he handed in a perfect exam paper in 22 minutes. He could not even be bothered to fake it, showing he does not care about public opinion at all. And someone who does not care about opinions would never cheat, leaving the entire classroom in absolute silence. The school's top beauty publicly defending Chingming in front of everyone is way more than simple private backing. Honestly, you have to respect her for taking a stand like that, leaving Du Xiang with his jaw on the floor. Wang Yi's eyes turn red, and Chingming stares at her for a long moment before saying just two simple words, "Thank you." Chushua spins around and walks back to her seat, but her ears are so red they are practically smoking. Ruyan whispers, warning her that now the entire school is going to know she is fully backing Chingming. What about Lu Jing's reaction? Chushua puts down her textbook and looks at her with an absolute resolve that Ruyan has never seen before. She simply says she does not care, her voice incredibly soft but carrying the weight of a spike. Lu Jing has chased her for over half a year, and she only avoided outright rejections to protect her father's business. But looking out the window, she notes that some things are just far more important than business. Ruyan is totally stunned because in over 10 years of friendship, she has never seen Chushua speak up like this. Chushua suddenly tells her to help post a WeChat status, telling her exactly what to write. Innocence does not need proof when sheer ability speaks for itself, and those spreading baseless lies will eventually reap what they sow. Ruyan gasps, realizing this is publicly dragging Lu Jing, but Chushua insists she post it. With Chushua's eyes remaining incredibly calm, Ruyan takes a deep breath, types it out, and hits send. 3 seconds later, Ruyan leaves the very first like, and the count immediately begins to skyrocket. Within 30 minutes, screenshots are all over the forum under a bold title declaring Chushua publicly backs Chingming. Replies break 10,000 in an hour, and the top comment pulls over 15,000 likes. The top beauty is officially backing him up, taking massive courage to declare public solidarity like this. She must have absolute confidence to believe in him like this. Meanwhile, Lu Jing spotted this WeChat post. The text said liars will eventually reap what they sow. Every single word felt like a brutal face slap. Furious, he hurled his phone against the wall, instantly shattering the screen. But a second later, he grabbed the broken phone and dialed a number. His voice icy cold. Are those screenshots realistic enough? Absolutely. Normal tech cannot detect it. But Lu Jing roared back, it is not normal tech. The security lab is already checking it. The other end of the line went dead silent. Listen to me, Lu Jing said, gritting his teeth. Find a way to stall them. I do not care what you have to do. Just buy me some time. Hanging up, he slumped against the wall. Glass cut his hand. Blood dripped. But he felt absolutely nothing. He only knew one thing. He was running out of cards to play, but he would never admit defeat. While the investigation continued, daily life went on. By late October, the annual Autumn Basketball League at Jiang University finally kicked off. This was way more than a simple game. It was a brutal battlefield for every department fighting for their pride. The business and law schools were absolute powerhouses, while our computer science guys had been knocked out in the groups for 7 straight years. Since day one, Wang Che, a sports recruit, had been trying to drag Chingming onto the roster. Ming, with your 6-foot frame, not playing basketball is a total waste of your natural talent. I do not know how to play, Chingming says, but you said that about the piano and made 4,500 people cry. Now you claim you cannot play basketball? Yeah, I choose not to believe you. Wang Che was practically begging on his knees. Can you at least come fill a spot? Our team only has 5 actual players. One guy has a 3% shooting rate, and another starts wheezing after running 2 steps. Chingming stared at his desperate face, paused for 3 seconds, and finally asked when the game was. Wednesday afternoon, against the mighty business school. How good are they? They were last year's runners-up, Wang Che said, looking utterly hopeless. I know, but with you there, we can at least lose with dignity. Chingming sighed. Fine. Wang Che almost bowed down in gratitude. Wednesday afternoon arrived, and the campus court was packed for computer science versus business. The gap in skill? It was absolutely massive. Everyone expected a total bloodbath. The business school guys had matching gear, tall frames, and looked like absolute pros. But look at our computer science squad, just 5 completely random guys standing together. It was a total eyesore. One kid was as skinny as a toothpick. Another was totally round, and their third guy wore thick glasses, looking ready to trip. Up in the stands, Duji covered his eyes and groaned. I cannot watch this, Duji says. But Ranfang is calm, maybe there will be a surprise. What surprise? The surprise of getting crushed 50-0? Chingming literally said he does not know how to play. Well, he also said he could not play piano. Duji instantly shut his mouth. Meanwhile, Chingming was casually warming up in his white jersey. He looked like a total amateur, but check out the wild detail Wang Che noticed. The ball in Chingming's hands was not just moving. It looked as if it were literally glued to his palms. Wang Che's eyes instantly lit up. Ming, are you seriously telling me you do not know how to play? Chingming casually bounced the ball and flicked it with one hand. The ball spun perfectly through the air, swish, nothing but net. Wang Che burst out laughing like a complete maniac. You call this not knowing how to play? It was just luck, Chingming replies. He was totally deadpan. No rookie makes a shot from that crazy angle. I could not make that if I practiced for 6 years, Wang Che yelled. Chingming did not explain, he just put on his wristband. His right hand was still wrapped in heavy gauze from the unhealed burn. Can you even play like that? Wang Che asked, frowning deeply. No big deal, Chingming replied. I will just shoot left-handed. Your left? Are you actually left-handed? No, but I shoot just fine with it. Wang Che's entire worldview was being ruthlessly shattered. Then, the game finally began. Tip-off. The business school center leapt with absolute confidence, but the next second he realized Chingming had jumped even higher, a full 10 centimeters higher. One hand. Chingming easily tipped the ball to Wang Che. He landed lightly without a single sound. Wang Che excitedly drove up the court, passing the ball back to Chingming. The opposing guard quickly dropped into a defensive stance. He knew Chingming, but on this court, only skill mattered. He was highly confident he could lock him down, but as Chingming dribbled left-handed, the ball seemed completely glued to his fingers. His pacing shifted without warning, going from fast to slow. Right when the defender anticipated his drive, Chingming feigned a quick stutter step, then exploded forward. He drove straight down the lane. A beautiful nutmeg right through the defender's legs, swoosh. Clean and ruthless. The crowd instantly gasped in disbelief. Whoa! Two players from the business school rushed to double-team him. Everyone assumed he would pass, but he kept going. Going up against two defenders a full size larger than him, Chingming charged the ball right toward the rim. He exploded off the floor, leaping right through their double team and soaring high. Stretching his body to the absolute limit in midair, he raised his left hand high, before slamming it down with a thunderous bang. The rim rattled violently as the entire backboard shook. Chingming let go, landing on his feet and turning back with a totally blank face. The entire court fell dead, silent. 300 to 400 spectators were completely paralyzed. The business school team, Wang Shi, and even the referee stood frozen in shock. 3 seconds later, the stands erupted. Everyone started screaming like crazy. He actually dunked. He nutmegged a defender, and then posterized them. Is this the freaking NBA? Wang Shi rushed over and tackled Chingming into a massive bear hug. Wang Shi yelled that Ming lied about not knowing how to play, while Chingming gasped out that he truly does not play that often. Gasping for air, Chingming was nearly choked by the embrace. But this was just the start. The game went on, but the suspense was dead. Chingming completely dominated the court. In the first quarter alone, he put up 14 points, 4 left-handed three-pointers, all nothing but net. In the second quarter, he went wild and dropped 18 points. He even dished out a few jaw-dropping no-look passes. In the third quarter, the business school sent 3 defenders to triple-team him, but Chingming pulled off a lightning spin move, shaking them all. A smooth fadeaway jumper traced a perfect arc and swished cleanly through the net. This was no longer a game, just Chingming's personal showcase. Final quarter, the score sat at 67 to 38. The computer science department was up by 29 points. Last year's runner-up was getting absolutely destroyed by one guy. In the final 30 seconds, Chingming held the ball behind the three-point line. The business school players had already abandoned their defense, completely exhausted and ready to accept their brutal fate. Chingming checked the scoreboard and raised his left hand. Without any fakes, he let it fly, swishing it cleanly through the net. The buzzer sounded at 74 to 42. Chingming racked up 48 points, 16 rebounds, and 11 assists. When the game ended, the business school captain walked up, looking totally defeated but incredibly respectful. He asked Chingming to do them a favor and sit out the remaining games of the tournament. Otherwise, there is literally no suspense left in the league. Wang Shi jumped right onto Chingming's back, praising him like a god. He declared Chingming their permanent honorary captain, jokingly admitting he cast 5 votes for it himself while none of the others knew. Up in the corner of the stands, Ba Chu Shu watched silently, having only come along to keep Lu Ruian company. Lu Ruian had playfully asked if she was actually interested in Chingming instead of basketball, but Ba Chu Shu had kept completely silent. So, from that brutal nutmeg to the massive slam dunk, and from those clean three-pointers to his insane passes, she did not miss a single second. From his beautiful fadeaway to that final deep three-pointer, her face remained totally calm the entire time. But Lu Ruian noticed something. Ba Chu Shu's hands had been squeezing her skirt tightly for a full 40 minutes since tip-off, leaving the fabric completely wrinkled when the game ended. Standing up to smooth out the creases, Ba Chu Shu listened as Lu Ruian asked her what she thought about the match. She calmly replied it was just okay, leaving Lu Ruian speechless that 48 points only earned an okay from her. Still completely expressionless, Ba Chu Shu turned and walked down the steps. But right at the exit, she paused and looked back at the court, where a massive crowd had gathered around Chingming. Sweat trickled down his jaw as the afternoon sun hit him perfectly, but his face remained as calm as always. Bachu Shu stared for just 3 seconds before walking away, whispering for them to leave, though her pace was slightly faster, and a tiny smile crept onto her lips. The dust on the basketball court had not even settled yet, but another storm was already quietly brewing as the forensic results from the security lab were finally released. Professor Xiao Wei, a top-tier national expert, had personally taken charge of the case and delivered his verdict in just 2 days. Returning to that very same conference room, Bin Lu and Professor Wang were joined this time by Chingming and Professor Zhao. Professor Xiao Wei slapped a folder onto the table, his flat voice completely devoid of any emotion as he stated the verdict was very clear. Those whistleblower screenshots are all fake. Hearing this, Vice Dean Lu's face instantly froze. Every single image is forged. Professor Xiao opened the forensic report, exposing the inconsistent pixel density. The chat text was photoshopped in later. Even worse, Chingming's profile picture timestamp is 3 months too early. That is completely impossible in any normal screenshot. Look at the spacing. The numbers in the 2,000 yuan transfer receipt deviate from the native WeChat font. Ironclad proof. It was manually typed in. Professor Xiao closed the report. The forgery was clever, but professional equipment exposes every single flaw. The conference room was dead silent. Vice Dean Lu's face turned completely ashen. This was clearly no simple misunderstanding. Someone had meticulously forged evidence to deliberately frame the kid. He turned to Chingming, his voice apologetic. Chingming, on behalf of the department, I sincerely apologize. This was a massive failure in our work. We will immediately issue a school-wide announcement to clear your name. Furthermore, we will hand this to the disciplinary committee to find the whistleblower. Chingming listened and nodded. Thank you, Vice Dean Lu. But I have one question, Chingming said, his eyes growing sharp. Will you check the printer logs? Vice Dean Lu froze on the spot. The letter was printed on a network printer, which keeps logs of the sending device's exact IP address. Chingming spoke slowly, word by word, as if he were giving them a lecture. Vice Dean Lu and the academic affairs officer exchanged a stunned look. They had completely missed that. Yes, we will check it. Good. Chingming stood up to leave. But right as he reached the door, Professor Wang suddenly called out his name. Chingming. The young man looked back. He saw Professor Wang leaning back, wearing a complex smile with knowing eyes. You knew those screenshots were fake all along, didn't you? Yes, and I have a pretty good idea who forged them. Then why didn't you say so? A faint smirk appeared on his face. Because if I say it, he can deny it. But if the department finds out, he can't. Professor Wang stared at him, then smiled and shook his head. Kid, your mind is harder to read than your face. Chingming pushed the door open and stepped out into the hallway. His phone suddenly buzzed with a message from Ron. I have already backed up those printer logs in 3 places. 1 backup with him, 1 on the server, and 1 on the cloud. Trust me, deleting them is impossible now. Chingming replied with a single word. Good. Next, a message from Duja popped up on his screen. Ming, your epic dunk video is trending with 30 million views. You are definitely staying on the training list. But Chingming just locked his screen. He did not care about trending topics. He only cared about the next step. The department would check the logs. They would point straight to Lu Jing's computer, sparking an immediate investigation. Would he confess? No way. He would deny everything, claiming his computer was hacked or borrowed. But regardless of his excuses, from the fake screenshots to the anonymous report, and now the printer logs, the chain of evidence was complete. He was totally trapped. Leaning against the window and looking at the shimmering starry lake in the distance, Chingming whispered softly, almost. This intense shadow war was finally ending. The very next day, before the department could even release their findings, the news exploded. A massive bombshell post appeared out of nowhere on the school forum. It revealed that the cheating screenshots were officially proven to be completely forged. Within 10 minutes, replies broke 1,000. In an hour, they surpassed 20,000. The forum servers almost crashed. I told you a guy who scores perfect in 22 minutes doesn't need to buy answers. Who is this sick to frame him? First, the rigged gala drawing, now forged evidence. Honestly, thinking about it gives me the creeps. Do we even need to guess? The entire school knows who is targeting Chingming. Lu Jing, come out and say something. The student council president framing a freshman. If this is confirmed, he is definitely getting expelled. Public opinion completely shifted in Chingming's favor, and the spearhead was aimed directly at Lu Jing. As for Lu Jing, he found out the very night the forensic results dropped. On the phone, his accomplice was trembling with fear. Jing, they found out. They know the screenshots are fake. Sitting in his dark dorm, Lu Jing asked only one question. Will they trace it back to you? No, his friend stammered, but the letter was printed from the student council's printer. The moment he realized they might check the printer logs, Lu Jing's fingers dug deep into his palms. He had not even considered that possibility. He always assumed an anonymous physical letter was completely untraceable, entirely forgetting that modern printers keep a digital log of everything. Network printers track device info for every single job, and he had used his very own personal laptop. The registered name was literally Lu Jing's personal laptop. Once they check those logs, everything points straight to him. Lu Jing's mind races, frantically deleting the files is impossible now, and outright denial is too weak. Run? Where could a prestigious student council president even hide? He can practically feel the noose tightening around his neck, inch by inch. But he is definitely not the type to sit back and just wait for his doom. So he makes a wild choice and watch closely, because he is about to walk right into the lion's den. It happens right during the lunch rush in cafeteria, too, when the entire hall is packed to the brim. Chingming and his friends are eating in a corner. The moment Lu Jing walks in, the loud buzz of the cafeteria suddenly drops several decibels. The entire school knows he is the prime suspect. The eyes that once looked up to him have now turned into suspicious, judging glares. Yet, he still maintains his elegant, flawless smile while carrying his tray, looking completely unbothered. He walks right up to Chingming's table. Du Shang tenses up instantly. "I see him," Du Shang warns, but Chingming is completely calm. A second later, Lu Jing stops by their table with a polite grin, greeting Chingming after a long time. Chingming looks up. Lu Jing asks if he can sit, and Chingming tells him to suit himself before he sits down. The campus's victim and the prime suspect are now sitting face to face. The entire cafeteria goes dead silent. The air is thick with explosive tension. Under the table, Du Shang tightly clenches his fists. Wang Qi is ready to leap up at any moment, but Lu Jing acts like nothing is wrong at all. He mentions hearing that the report investigation cleared Chingming's name, but admits there is still one thing he cannot understand. He asks why Chingming was not anxious at all during the entire ordeal. Chingming just calmly takes another bite. There was nothing to fear. Lu Jing asks if he was worried they would find nothing, but Chingming is confident they would. "How can you be so sure?" Chingming slowly sets down his chopsticks. He looks up, staring straight into Lu Jing's eyes, and you can literally feel the trap snapping shut on him as his smile instantly freezes. When Lu Jing asks what mistake, Chingming's response is quiet, yet the entire cafeteria strains to hear. He used his own laptop on the student council's printer. Lu Jing's pupils shrink violently. Network printers keep logs, recording the IP address and device name of whatever computer sent the file. Chingming speaks as calmly as if he is giving a lecture, but each word plunges like a knife directly into Lu Jing's heart. He remarks that someone who doesn't even know how to clear printer logs has no business trying to frame others. The cafeteria is so quiet you can hear a pin drop. Lu Jing can no longer maintain his fake smile as his mouth twitches. His face turns from pale to a sickly green. Chingming never named him, but mentioning the student council printer makes it glaringly obvious. With a sharp screech, Lu Jing abruptly stands, scraping his chair loudly across the floor. He glares directly at Chingming. His lips tremble, but he cannot squeeze out a single word because he knows he is completely done. Anything he says now is a trap. Denying it proves his guilt, while admitting it means absolute social suicide. Silence is a confession, and every single path leads to a dead end. He stands frozen, under hundreds of judging eyes. Those looks are no longer filled with admiration or mere suspicion, but with clear, unmistakable contempt from everyone. Lu Jing's hands begin to tremble violently as he grabs his tray, turns around, and storms off. He flees the cafeteria, never once looking back. Only when he reaches a deserted corner at the end of the hallway does he slide down the wall, clutching his head as his body trembles violently. This isn't just fear. It is a completely new sensation for him, an absolute, crushing, and inescapable defeat. Meanwhile, after 5 seconds of silence, the cafeteria absolutely explodes because he didn't even deny it. He just walked away without saying a word, proving he's guilty. And Chingming specifically mentioned the student council printer. It was definitely him forging evidence to frame his classmate, meaning expulsion is coming. Du Shang lets out a long sigh and looks at Chingming. "Ming, this is exactly what you were waiting for, wasn't it? Waiting for him to approach you publicly, forcing him to walk straight into his own grave." Chingming simply picks up his chopsticks and calmly grabs some food. The food is getting cold. Du Shang looks at his incredibly calm expression and suddenly understands everything. Chingming had been waiting for this exact day since day one. He was not just some predator. No, he was a master chess player who saw the entire endgame from his very first move, and Lu Jing was never really his rival. Lu Jing was just a simple pawn on his board. 3 days later, the department officially announced the investigation results, but not on some random online forum or bulletin board. They called a massive, school-wide public assembly. The absolute transparency Chingming had demanded was delivered perfectly, even beyond his own expectations, because Professor Wang personally pushed for it. Friday at 2 p.m., inside the massive university auditorium that could easily seat 30,000 people. Over 5,000 people flooded in. The second the news broke, the entire campus went completely wild. Everyone was whispering about Chingming's cheating case, wondering if Lu Jing would show up. There were not even enough seats. Aisles were packed tight, and the school even had to start an official live stream because public pressure was just too massive. Forum threads easily topped 500. With replies breaking 200,000, they had no choice. By 2 p.m., the deputy secretary and the dean took their seats on the stage. Joining them were Vice Dean Liu, Professor Wang, the disciplinary committee director, and the head of academic affairs. Talk about heavy hitters, 5,000 students watched their every single move. Chingming sat quietly in the third row, flanked by Du Jiang and Ran Fong, while Lu Jing sat nearby. He wore a sharp black suit, sitting right in the front of the student council section. His face was stone cold, devoid of any real emotion. Du Jiang whispered that he was here, but Chingming just nodded. Ran Fong spoke softly, wondering if this was Lu Jing's final shred of dignity. The deputy secretary gave a very brief opening, then passed the microphone over to Vice Dean Liu. A second later, Vice Dean Liu's voice echoed through the massive speakers, reaching over 30,000 teachers and students online. He announced that last month, the department received a quite shocking anonymous report. The letter accused freshman Chingming of cheating on his midterms, attaching 3 fake screenshots as proof. Now, on behalf of the university, I will officially announce our final investigation results. The auditorium went dead silent. 5,000 people held their breath. Online viewers spiked way past 30,000. Vice Dean Liu turned the page, his voice steady. First, regarding the actual authenticity of this evidence. After some highly professional analysis by Professor Zhou's Information Security Lab team, those 3 screenshots have been proven to be entirely forged. As he spoke, a massive wave of shock swept the crowd. He immediately began laying out the technical details, noting inconsistent pixel density, contradictory profile, timestamps, and quite obvious deviations in the font. Every single detail proved these screenshots were nothing but bad Photoshop forgeries. Second, regarding Chingming's grades, the Academic Affairs Office verified he scored perfect marks in all 3 courses. Camera footage proved he answered the questions completely on his own, with 0 cheating. Furthermore, Professor Wang, a top authority in the computer science field, personally reviewed the papers, concluding that Chingming's skills easily exceed the typical undergraduate level. His grades are completely real. Beside him, Professor Wang nodded slightly, confirming everything. But it wasn't over. Vice Dean Liu flipped to the most crucial page, his voice deepening. Now here is the kicker, the actual identity of the whistleblower. 5,000 pairs of eyes in the crowd and over 30,000 viewers online locked their gazes on him. Our investigation tracked the forged files back to a printer inside the student union's very own office. The system logs showed the print task came directly from his specific personal laptop. He paused, reading the registered device name aloud. It perfectly matched the laptop of our student president, Lu Jing. The room exploded. Gasps, angry curses, and shocked whispers flooded the room as the live chat went absolutely wild. The beloved president actually framed a student by forging evidence. They demanded he be expelled. Vice Dean Liu waited for the chaos to settle a bit, then continued reading. The disciplinary committee confirmed that Lu Jing admitted to forging the files and filing the fake report. He actually confessed. The auditorium explodes with noise again. Lu Jing just sits there, completely frozen, his face utterly bloodless. All those harsh stares from the student union members make him feel like he is sitting on needles. Finally, Vice Dean Liu steps up to announce his fate. Lu Jing is stripped of his position. He is officially placed on academic probation. Every single award and honor he was eligible for this year is revoked. Worse, this black mark goes straight into his permanent student file. The announcement ends. Instantly, the crowd goes absolutely wild. Academic probation. That is literally one step away from expulsion. This is absolute social death for a student. Lu Jing just sits there, as every brutal word drives like a nail straight into his ears, stripped of everything, a permanent stain on his record. Lu Jing's lips tremble, but he keeps his mouth shut. He knows pleading is completely useless now. But hold on, just as the tension peaks, the meeting ends and everyone starts leaving. Chingming stands up, ready to head home. But right as he reaches the exit, a familiar voice calls his name. He stops and turns. It is Secretary Chen from the university committee. His gaze is sharp, but there is a kindness to it as he notes Chingming was wrong today. Chingming speaks up instantly. He does not feel wronged at all. Thank you, university. Surprisingly, Secretary Chen just stares at him for a few moments before speaking. He says Chingming is a great student, and Professor Wang highly praises him. If any future trouble comes up, he should go straight to Chen. Even after Secretary Chen walks away, Chingming just stands there, completely stunned. A cool autumn breeze sweeps past. He takes a deep breath, feeling that massive, suffocating weight finally lift off his chest. Suddenly, Ming Dua charges up from behind, throwing a heavy arm right around his neck. It is finally over. Wang Chi jogs over next, giving Chingming a massive pat on the back. Nearby, Ran Fang pushes up his glasses with a grin. Time to call it a day. Under the setting sun, they look like soldiers who just survived a brutal war. Chingming smiles and offers to treat them to dinner. His friends instantly lose their minds in pure shock. Is the sun actually rising in the west today? Behind them, the auditorium lights slowly fade. This crazy school chapter is officially over, and trust me, what comes next is going to be even wilder. Because outside these school walls, a massive new world is waiting.